Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tear Off Your Skin, my hangout show, my panel show, if you want, maybe. And tonight I wanted to talk about the tempo in role-playing game, like how to have a action scene feel actiony and initiative, like I'll make sure everybody get a turn, because this is in our games that we've been doing live and the role-playing in the fourth dimension that have been posted on my channel and others people like people I play with channel as well. This is I think the biggest thing we still struggle with. So I wanted to invite a few of my people I'm playing with so we can discuss it. Also, fun fact, did you know that the skin is the biggest organ in the human body? But you want it in tonight, so you can take it off, leave it in the closet, kick back and relax, stare off your skin. Tear your skin off. All right. Hello, Rick. And hello, Kristen.
Hi, guys.
That was a very uncomfortable,
that was
disturbing song in the beginning.
like,
yeah,
I had me calling for an adult. I need an adult. I'm in danger.
Well, Rick, you're the musician. You would be the one to know. You always criticize my musical choice for my openings.
Oh, you do? Oh, it's kind of eerie.
Yeah,
it's pretty creepy.
You know what that song is from, no?
No.
What is it from?
It's when they recorded the planet Saturn.
Oh, that's where it's
okay.
from. Okay. Cool.
Now
cool.
I dig. Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary.
It is.
Saturn
terrifying.
must be a pretty terrifying place.
Well, it is literally hell. So yeah, but that's another whole other topic.
Yeah.
How you been, guys? Since
Awesome.
the long time we saw each other.
Good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we talked a bit about this topic too in the Tweaker last night, but I didn't want to go too much into it because like I wanted to make I think this is a big topic that needed a deserve a whole conversation. So let's do that tonight. I just want to say hi to people in chat, so I can say boa noite to Nicolas there, Margot. And Phil, if you want to join, well, you can find the link, and Dragon's Shadow. Hello, guys. So, how do we keep? Okay, I talked about it a bit in the past. When I'm writing Bastard Sword, I divide tempo in 3 when I talk about the rules and stuff like that, which is transition tempo, interaction tempo, and action tempo. Transition tempo is for basically when you do the time skip, right? If you want to do something that's going to take a long time, you still maybe want your character to do something, you're going to do research, you're going to travel on a boat and stuff like that. We're going to jump over a big part of time. Time is going to go faster in game than in real life. That's transition tempo. Then interaction tempo is when you do dialogue, and you don't necessarily count second from second. Time is not strictly kept count of, but it's pretty much real time, right? You say something, it's gonna take a little time, stuff like that. Action tempo is when if you're in a race, if you're in combat and stuff like that. Where now time is stretched out a bit because the order of operation is much more important, which can be counterintuitive because you say if you're in action, it should feel fast, but now oftentimes the game slow down, right?
Bullet time.
Bullet time. But if you've been in a fight, you do have this feeling of time stretching out.
Yeah.
Oh, we're joined by the existential threat to the hobby, Connor.
I like your background, Max.
Thank you.
Is that for real or is that a JPEG?
No, it's for real.
Oh, okay.
I don't do the digital trickery.
Okay.
I do all the time.
I'm at Bleak Falls Barrow.
Yeah.
It's a fine place.
What'd I miss?
Oh, I'm just talking about the different tempo and I just started the show, so we're talking and nobody talked except me so far,
okay.
So you didn't miss much. I'm just rambling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Is it okay? And Shauna, I wanted to have you on that because I think you you often talk against initiative, right?
Yes, all the time.
And you say you don't use initiative and stuff like that. That's something I kind of disagree with you.
There's already
Not completely.
initiative. There's already initiative. What are you rolling for?
Yeah, for the round when you go round robin, but that's the problem we have been. We say, oh, we're gonna do round robin. We don't stick to it.
You're
we don't.
impatient. You're impatient.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's you. It's some
Play.
players are really bad. But some players that shall go unnamed. That's why I'm here. I'm the worst offender.
Play a 5-game or 6-game campaign or something together.
Did
You
I
guys-
just?
you guys will
Shawnee,
get into
Shawnee
the
just
groove.
said we should play a campaign. I think that somebody write that down. I
No,
think.
someone,
Are you
someone's-
okay?
Someone's been doing. Well, I didn't want to say 6 1-shot. 6-shot game, but somebody has been playing Castles and Crusades for a while. I don't know about if it's the same players,
Oh, that's true.
but if you have
Yeah.
the same players, you get into a groove. Everyone,
Yeah.
you got to look at the camera when you're doing the thing. You
Mm-hmm.
don't be mumbling, don't be fumbling around for things when you talk. Look in the camera. The other
do what I
players have
can.
to see you
Mm-hmm.
to tell if you're done talking.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a habit of speaking twice with a long pause in between. So people think, oh, he's done.
Yeah.
No, he's still talking.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I wanted to say about initiative, when I think I don't completely agree with you, I think it's true that in a lot of game that goes when the game goes initiative, then everything stops to a crawl, right? And
If you play by the rules.
if you play by the rules, yeah, exactly. Now like you're no longer in a role playing game. You develop into like kind of the skirmish war game with an army of one and stuff like that, right? Just like, but I think it's not a problem with the initiative per se. I think like they're like linked problem, but it's not like because initiative would just be like the turn order, right? And if
Yeah.
you do round robin and stuff like that,
Yeah, Total
But
Party
if you want-
Skills has the best initiative if you're going to use one.
Yeah,
I think that's a good
Do
idea,
you want to
yeah.
explain? Like, I think all of us know it, but probably the audience doesn't. Like,
yeah, you can take.
you
can
just
go ahead,
roll.
Chris.
You roll initiative at the beginning of your session, and that's what it is. Like, you just stay in that order. So
Some initiatives are dynamic during each round. Some are convoluted. Some are
Yeah.
you're competing with other players for initiative. Why? Because you're going to be doing round robin anyway. So what's the difference if you're first or if you're last?
it's a good question. I think maybe what we should do, Max, if you're okay to it, is just talk a little bit about the problems we're having, because it's a problem that comes up in Rick's game. It came up a bit. It wasn't so bad because Rick had other tools that I'm sure you're going to talk about, Rick. It was a problem for my game. It was a problem a little bit for Max's game, for Phil's game. It just keeps coming up that we're talking at the same time. There's a couple players that'll take 1,000 turns before one player gets their first turn. So there's some issues involved, and we've got to kind of suss it out.
You got role player injuries. So if you're bonked on the head and you're dizzy, you're not going to be talking all that much.
Mhm.
If you're bleeding
That's
out
also something I
and
want to
going-
talk about.
about to faint, you're not moving all that much. You're not thinking clearly. You can't be talking in your normal speaking voice, even though you're barely in a coma, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like a problem that compound there, like, and that I want to talk about, like, and it's a complex issue to untangle because they all like linked together, right? We want to have like the action scene feel actiony. We want everybody to be able to have a turn, but we also want to be able to react to stuff that happen. So it's a lot of like problem that like intertwine in like with one another.
What about
And,
the player, the player that just hogs all the turns? They talk first,
Yeah.
so they get to go first all the time.
Yeah.
Is that an issue? Is that really an issue?
No, that's never happened.
Or does it become an issue when that player seems to be running several blocks while everyone else hasn't ran yet?
Yeah.
That's when the issue is.
What if you say in your description or your narrative of what you're doing, you can only do up to what you say in a sentence? You know, if you say a sentence,
Yeah,
that's it. Someone else gets to say a sentence or two.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to do the thing you say you're doing during that sentence. And the time it takes you to say it, you should be able to do it. If you're saying a sentence and it's going to take you a while to do any of that, you don't get to do that turn. Does that make sense?
Or you lose your next turn. But then
because you're still doing that.
Or you're still doing the long ass thing. Like I'm gonna repair my car and take it to Jiffy Lube for a lube and everything, and then I'm gonna go to get some smokes and I'll be back in a few hours. That's not your turn.
No.
You can't do that in the time it took you to say it. You have to be able to do it.
Violation.
You got it. You have to be able to do it in the time you're able to say it.
I mean, you can say that to your fellow
in dialogue.
characters in dialogue.
In dialogue, you can say anything you want.
That's your turn. Then you start proceeding, and then
and then you're gone for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, whatever, until something happens at the Jiffy Lube, because you're probably stuck in traffic.
Hello, Phil.
Hello.
Oh,
you done
Phil the Ville.
No, actually, my dog's still
Phil's in character.
outside running around.
All right.
I'm in character right now. I'm role playing a frustrated role player. I'm wondering how to deal with this existential threat next to me over here.
There is no way to deal with it.
There's no way. It's like a force of nature.
Next to Max, you mean?
Yeah, that's right.
I wanted to jump right in with an idea.
Yeah, go ahead.
The initiative. I think we were talking about for a minute yesterday about whenever stuff gets all jumbled and no one knows where anyone is, to anchor ourselves, where we take a moment where you just say where you are and what you're doing. And I think that could be maybe a time where you take initiative so that you give people a chance to insert themselves where they want to be. I don't know how you determine who gets
that would almost be like if you start because there's the thing that's why I started talking about all those tempo stuff like that, right? Just like when I make this distinction, and if you want to bear with me and we can use those terms, right? Especially interaction and action tempo, transition, oftentimes we just understand. You go to the Jiffy Lube, we're gonna pick back up when you're there, right? Just you drive for a few minutes, maybe I'm gonna skip your turn a few times. That's usually what if a player if we're not in action time and a player tell me he's gonna do something, it's gonna take a considerable amount of time, right? I'm gonna dig a hole, right? Just okay, you start digging, I'll come back to you when you're done, or if you're interrupted, then I'll skip your turn in the meantime, in a sense, right?
What was the third tempo? It was transition tempo, action tempo, and what was it? What did you had another one dialogue tempo or interaction?
Interaction, I call it.
Interaction.
Yeah, I'm fancy with words, so it needs to kind of rhyme.
I always think of that movie Pulp Fiction. You got some characters are separate from other characters in the film, and then they meet up at some point. But until then, some of the characters are just out of the loop because they're in the middle of, they had to have the cleaner come and fix the car because someone's brains were all over the car.
Yep.
So those two were out of the loop. And then someone else was at a diner.
Yeah. Well,
someone was having a heart attack. Someone had a ball thing in their mouth, and Bruce Willis grabs the samurai sword for some reason instead of all the weapons.
The guns didn't have bullets in there, probably. No, I think the samurai sword was a good choice, Connor. I disagree with you on that as well.
He was choosing something interesting to do for his character.
Yeah, but
the characters were separate from each other, and they could have
and then when you come back to the guy that shoot the guy in the car, right? It's implied that some time has passed. We don't know what happened during this time. We assume they just sat around, did some idle chit chat, right? Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Phil, can we go back to Phil's thought of just an anchoring round? So when is that most important? We're talking about 3 different modalities of timekeeping, right? There's a transition tempo, the action tempo, and the interaction tempo. Phil, when you think of a quick round of everyone anchor where you are, or just quickly reorient yourself, like what we were experiencing, where in the mine shaft wasn't exactly clear where everyone was.
Yep.
It was pretty hectic. So where would you put that in? Like, is that required more in the action side of things, like if we're in combat time, or is it not? Is it like, where would you suggest we insert something like that, where it's just, okay, here's a cue, everyone anchor? Like, I don't know, where would you, where's it most important, I guess, for that?
I would say it's separate from whatever type of tempo you're in, right?
I have a
Probably
spoiler.
most important in action, I guess.
Well,
Maybe.
for me, like what you're mentioning there, it's almost like when you switch from this interaction tempo to action tempo, which is basically going back to the
Oh, so
time
it's
you
a
would
transition.
go initiative,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Well, it's not transition. Like transition is like it's between scene, right?
Okay.
But now you are in interaction, because there's also this thing, right? When we're just in dialogue, like when you're doing investigation, when you're like gathering clue, talking, walking around, right, stuff like that. We're not so strict with time, because we want to have like this end turn, because you can have this back and forth, two people talking, then somebody else cut around, somebody like go look what's in the fridge, right? So we're a little more like loosey goosey with time, and your turn can take a little longer. But I think there's a time when you're in action scene where you should know your time is shorter. And like I talked yesterday about like this thing like turnflation, right? When the turns takes longer and longer, because if it's been a while since you had a turn, because somebody else got many turns in a row, because they want to react to something happening, and then come back to you. Now all of a sudden, like you feel like you haven't done anything for a while, so now you want to do 3 or 4 things. So now your turns take longer, and then so the next guy after you, well, you just did 3 or 4 things, so I should have time to do 3 or 4 things as well, right? So like this inflation of turn that always happen, and not only that, but also even with the dialogue that people do, you in combat, right? It's fun having those little quirks and stuff like that, and those little description. But that does slow down the game as well sometimes, you know? I understand the need and the desire to put some flavor, and it adds a lot to the game. But is there a trade-off there that is happening? Right?
You mean
If you take
like
30 seconds,
like a glorious death scene? You want to narrate how awesome you die, and that's
not
going to take up a long time.
that one thing, but when it's like a sword swipe, right? And you want to take like 15 seconds to describe a sword swipe, or you just like at some point, like and then you want to do a little quirk, a little call out, like
the guy goes, that's his description. He's like, oh, you bastard.
yeah, but I mean, like with the guy doing the attack, right? You're just like
He just goes like this. He just does this.
Is there a point when this become too long as well, and take away from the action feel?
Yes.
If you're using hit points.
If it slows things down too.
I don't know. I thought I
wanna
just
come back
kind
to that,
of
Sean.
I kind of like the idea of your turn should take as long as it takes to say your turn. I always thought that was like our move.
Well, the spoiler I use is that in my games, the players are always in turns. They're always in combat.
Yeah.
It's either combat, social combat, arguing with each other in dialogue. It's things speed up and slow down, not necessarily because there's combat. It's just help me push this car across the tracks. The train's coming. Hurry. You can take your time to be cool about it, nonchalant. Oh, what's the big deal? It's just a Santa Fe diesel coming at us at 60 miles per hour with 30, oil rig cars behind it. You could increase the pace by just saying you're running now. Instead of walking, you're now running. You're yelling instead of whispering. You're banging your fist on the kitchen counter because you're pissed off. Someone put back the milk empty, something. So everyone's kind of on the edge. Cabin fever starts happening. Last man alive sort of thing. I would say the tension, that there's a tension, I guess, and it seems like stuff's happening faster because you're more short with other characters. You're not talking about the weather anymore. You're now talking about, I'm gonna kill you. You're dead to me. You know, I see you near my car again. You know, that kind of thing. But the trick
What do you think,
is
Rick?
practice.
sorry.
You got to practice so players. Again, I stop talking and then you start. You know, you have to. There has to be a way to let the other players know you're done. You're
And
done
who's next?
rambling.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is it was, to me, it's a case of like discipline, basically, just self discipline to hold back. I think most of our misgivings come at a time when there's an interaction between, say, me and your NPC Max, and we do an interaction, and then then instead of going to the next person, somebody perks up and says, "Oh, but we got to do this and blah blah blah," like perks in as if they're chirping in on the conversation, which is natural if you were kept in like a conversational kind of thing, but you're also skipping the other people that should have been going as well too. So I think that's where we end up messing up a bit. So
Or practice doing round robin. Don't worry about initiative. Just go round robin.
yeah.
And then once in a while, you don't have to do it as much because you kind of know the flow. Like Phil's character is obviously going to be murdered, so he'll just be rotting in a corner. You know, he might still.
I'm
be
rotting this turn.
Yeah.
I'm still dead apparently.
Still rotting.
But
But I like the idea of Max saying, the inflation thing. That's the guy who's like, I haven't said anything all session. As soon as I open my mouth, I'm going to say all the 10 things I've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you have to write that away. You have to say goodbye to that. You have to just. It's too bad. You lost in a way.
Yeah.
You have to think of what are you doing in the present and the now.
But I think like I like what Rick said about discipline and our etiquette. Like I was talking about the other day, like because it's especially important when we play online, right? Because it's awful if people talk on top of one another. So we have to wait until like somebody is done. But sometimes we have like natural pause, and apparently I do that a lot, like those long pregnant pause when I speak.
Everyone has those probably.
Yeah, but it's important to listen, to wait until somebody else has finished. But then sometime if somebody else doesn't and somebody cut in and stuff like that, now like, oh, I was waiting to react to that, but now somebody else like took the turn, right? And it's especially like a problem when you have like a people interacting, like two player interacting among the two characters or interacting amongst each other and talking back and forth. And that's something I was talking about after the stream on Monday, after the Fear City game. And because we're talking about this a bit, because really that's in our game, that's the problem that have been like consistent, right? Because you have that thing, like we have two people talking, right? And a third person is there in the scene, or a fourth person sometimes is an NPC and stuff like that. So now you have like player A say something, player B reply, player A want to reply to that reply, and then like goes back to player B, and then you have like this ping pong.
How long is if that was a movie? How long would that scene take or be before the camera's pointing at another character Captain America wants to say something because Iron Man and Thor have been arguing for 2 minutes.
That's also something I want to come back to about the type of movie when we talk about cinematic and stuff like that. But
I think we landed on 2 lines apiece.
That's what I was.
Is that like 4 sentences? Either one after, like 1 1 2 2 or 1 2 1 2
1 1 2 2.
Yeah, that's good.
1 1.
4.
Yeah, exactly.
You should be able to say everything in 4 sentences.
Because if we want to keep the flow of the conversation kind of natural and fluid.
Natural, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was suggesting. But as a compromise, I was saying like, okay, if you're two guys having a conversation, character A can say one thing, character B reply, character E do the follow up, character B reply to the follow up, then we go back to the next player. If you didn't solve that conversation now we give a chance to the next player to interrupt, to interject, to do something, and the next player, if the next player is okay with that and just want to say, okay, I'm gonna let those guys keep on with the conversation because they're not over, obviously, then you can just like make a micro action, like, oh, I light up a cigarette and I'm sitting down on the couch, or I'm looking through the window, right? You do something minor just to like a way to indicate like I'm still there, my character is still existing in that world, but I'm not getting involved with that conversation. So now you can go back to player A, character A, and what? Go ahead, Phil.
Nothing. I was going to be stupid.
Well, maybe a minor action is what you need as a cue to let all the other players know you're done.
That's what we said. And so you do like the anchor at the end of that fourth sentence where you say, and then like at the right before your fourth sentence, you go, and I light up a cigarette, and that's kind of the cue.
Yeah,
because
like you do something more physical as your turn.
What Phil said just now about lighting up a cigarette, I see this all the time where a player says, and then I whip out a cigarette and I light it. But he's interrupting the GM who's now describing something new that's going on. And he doesn't know the guy wants to talk about his cigarette being whipped out. I see that all the time. And then the GM says, oh, go ahead. And then the GM continues on narrating, okay, it's now evening or something like that.
Yeah. I like what Rick said. Rick said something about, staying disciplined to the turn order. And I think it was a good reminder when Phil said that, you know what, we're supposed to just do 2 sentences on your turn. So where the real problem I see coming in now, people watching this say, well, guys, what are you talking about? Just roll initiative when you need it. But we're trying to get away from that trope of, okay, we're going to transition now. Like, we don't want to have that, okay, so now it's a combat thing. Okay, so we better roll initiative now, right? I'm like, I'd rather have it just be...
Like, I don't like it done like that, but could we find a way to imply it? Like, just to say, like, okay, guys, now it's time to shorten your turn, right? Don't give me like fucking 3 line of monologue.
Well, and maybe Max, maybe the game master does this by just quickly like say the name of the character next, and we're back into that initially established turn order with the understanding, and this is a social contract thing, and say, look, your turn should not be 30 seconds real life, like real time. It should be whatever. But I was like, we were talking about this and we thought, well, you had said micro actions. And I thought, okay, well,
anchoring.
If Rick is going to be talking to Phil, but I'm in the middle of the turn order, then Rick says what he wants to Phil, and then it's my turn. And I just lean back in my chair. That's it. That's my turn. I'm done. Then Phil responds to Rick, and then Rick can respond back. And then it's my turn again. And I just sigh and put my hand on my head, and that's the end of my turn, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not interacting, but we're still in that turn order. Like it's a dialogue between Rick and Phil, but we're still. Do you understand? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
I get what you mean.
If you're not just doing that, then it's weird.
I mean, if you're going to be talking still, if you're like within a camera frame distance of the other character. I mean, if you're upstairs in the attic, you're not going to have a conversation with someone.
Yeah, like if I'm downstairs searching the car.
But you'll still narrate what you're doing up in the attic, if it's something interesting.
Yeah, but that if you have like it kind of if you try to stick, like, I think in the dialogue, it's good to allow a reaction, right? To allow to stray away a bit from the turn order, like the strict turn order. To keep the natural flow, because otherwise, if you just lean back in your chair, that's fine, but maybe that's not what you're doing. Maybe that's not what you want to do, right? Like Phil was downstairs in the car, right? And I'm opening the trunk of the car, right?
Yeah, it
feels so now like you have this thing that is unrelated, that kind of cut, and maybe maybe they need to be like a description.
Makes the dialogue so choppy too. Like it's
exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
You're pointing at a player who's probably not going to say anything for their turn or do anything on their turn. But I use round robin just for practice, and after that, you don't use it anymore.
The thing with
that only works if you have the same players all the time, though.
The thing with the round robin is that I think might be an issue is because we kind of talk about how it's simultaneous turns because the GM waits to respond to everyone.
Yeah,
but it's like. It's not really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the GM has.
There's no simultaneous turn, really. Everyone's kind of reacting to each other almost.
Well, it's because I wanted to. Also it doesn't help when like somebody like step on the GM and doesn't let the GM take his turn.
Of course.
But
If everyone gets a turn and then GM goes,
What if the
like
GM
if
has
I'm
3
reacting to something
NPCs?
that Crispy just did,
yeah,
then am I really in a simultaneous turn situation? And in that case, why am I always after Crispy? Like, should the GM switch up the order of the way people go, or you know what I mean?
And then how does that switch be communicated to the rest of the players so that we know to respect it? Like that's
I use the order that I see you guys on the screen.
Yeah, but then Crispy's
Yeah.
always
then
performing
yeah, and it might
at all
make more
times.
sense that it
came
goes
in
the
late.
other direction.
but that's also
Come in,
like,
come
okay,
in early.
I want to decompose when it's before Crispy.
that's something that that's something like, you know, when I write Bastard Sword, like initiative is in Bastard Sword, and it's something that is like you can't really cut it off because it's something you can attack. Like you can like actually like stagger somebody and like put him lower in the initiative order and stuff like that, right?
So what
But what I'm
happens when Phil's character isn't quite dead yet in the basement? Everyone assumes he's dead, but
Those
he's not.
rare moments.
Yeah.
And then Crispy's
grasping.
turn is to pour cement, another 3 feet of concrete into the basement, and just bury you in there.
That
Hide
takes more
you.
than one turn.
But you're
I'm
alive.
si-
You still
I'm
want to role play.
simultaneous. Yeah.
You want to role play still that you're alive. You know, that you're not dead. One of your eyes blinked. But now you have to role play that you're suffocating in cold, hard concrete. That's your turn. That wasn't
not
the
too
turn you
hard.
wanted.
It's the-
But if your
it's the
turn
turn I
was before
deserve.
Crispy's, you could do both those turns.
I mean, some of that can be adjudicated by the game master, but the issue is that we have an etiquette problem on our games where after watching several of these games, I can see, okay, I'm cutting off. Well, usually I'm cutting other people off, but it's there's over talking, there's people getting skipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we've got to
It's
fix
practice.
Also, you know,
You guys don't do practice sessions. You only do live sessions.
now.
for
No, we do
some reason.
practice. We do offline practice. Yeah.
Occasionally.
Well,
Right.
you know, the way I
Practice
see
more.
the live session too, like those are practices.
That's
like,
practice too. Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
practice.
exactly. Like we're it's all like, what's the difference between a practice and a
Yeah, one of the
the
main
live-
points of the crusade is to show the progress.
Watch us practice.
We're not trying to hide our
Yeah, exactly.
our practice.
No.
yeah?
And it
Like,
is
we
a
can
problem.
try to focus
That's
on
a
one
good
specific
attitude.
thing during a game, right? But just like we'll do it live so you can see,
Mm-hmm.
and we can talk about it afterward.
I mean, your worst practice session is like 1,000 times better than everyone else's game sessions. So
Well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. But we
decompose
do
better
have
than
a problem, and we need. That's why. That's the purpose of this stream. Is like, let's see if we can iron something out. Like we need to rein in me so my turns aren't so long. I think that might help a lot.
just
Like I think
remember,
there's some player responsibility.
you only
here.
get 2 cents. You know, Crispy's character only gets to say 2 things.
Yeah.
per turn.
Nicolas was saying earlier, like catching social cue, maybe playing online sometimes interfere with that. I think that's also like a big part. Like playing online is an added challenge for that. Like it's much easier when you're in person. You can see when somebody like squirming to say something, right?
Maybe the move is make the fact that you're about want to say something way more visually obvious. So you just like go like that.
Yeah. You like.
Oh there, crazy Crispy.
Well, you know, I wish
my
like
turn.
StreamYard. I wish StreamYard would have an easy way to do like push to talk, so we could see if somebody's unmuting himself, you know,
Right.
and then it's a little more conscious effort too when you want. So it kind of like drive the
Yeah.
habits
Just,
of
just do
interrupting all the
that.
time.
Like
Do that
raise
when-
raise your hand kind of thing. Yeah.
Do this when it's not your turn.
I think that's a bit much.
Yes, Grandma. Somebody has to tell me to shut up. Everyone has a sign, and on that sign is just "Crispy, stop."
I mean, in one game, in
I have a ball cap that says
in the
Crispy.
witch
He's
in
made
the,
a
Crispy, shut
merch.
up.
in the
Looks like
witch
Mickey
game,
Mouse creating it.
I want to say Max was just saying you guys' names,
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
effective.
That works.
and that worked. You would just quickly say Rick, Crispy.
Yeah.
So I guess then it's just a matter
Oh,
of
I was using like the title of the character, the name of the character, or
Yeah.
title of the character.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 That
It's
can
like
work.
training wheels, though. You don't want to have to do it.
You don't want to, but I think maybe that's the
It
signal
works.
to us that
You
like
need more practice.
dialogue is moving forward now. Like we're now beyond just an organic conversation and where everyone's involved.
Yeah, dialogue, it can be a little tricky too, because you want to have those moments that you see in movies and stuff. That's kind of like what I had in mind with Bruno in a couple of occasions where everybody's talking like, no, we got to do this, no, we got to do that, and Bruno comes in and goes, whoa, 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 he's interrupting everybody, and you want to have maybe a few moments like that. How does that all fit in with the how the turn order goes? It's
Good point.
In the movies, who's moving the camera? The director.
The director,
maybe,
yes.
Maybe the game master has to be moving the camera during your guys' game to let you guys know who gets to say something.
No, we don't
the
have
spotlight's on you guys. The spotlight's on you guys.
Yeah.
Spotlight.
Well, when they're in different scene, I try to do that. Like I said, I go back outside the house, right? But like I try to do that when people are separated. But if people like are in the same scene at some point, like I don't know if Rick want to interrupt in the conversation. You need to have like a way to do that, without it becoming fucking chaos.
Yeah.
Because. And oh yeah, when I was talking about like initiative in Bastard Sword being important and something you can attack, but it's also like a lot of the combat is done with result with opposed roll. So if character A attack character B and character B defend himself, like they both are taking their turn now. The turn of both are resolved now, and who is in action and who is in reaction matters. So who is with the initiative, right, matters.
Mm-hmm.
But then like those two characters are done, because that's also I think a big part with traditional game that rely on initiative is like now everybody got their turn, but also everybody kind of get to do something outside of their turn sometimes. So now like the turn become like very long, and you can do too much, and then you have like those special power that nobody knows and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying like I think the problem that we see with game that rely on initiative oftentimes or not from the initiative itself.
I get that dog.
Oh,
Getting the dog.
Yeah.
Get the dog. Yeah, get that dog. Yeah. And
what would be cool is if in the future, if StreamYards allows it. I know StreamYard's been integrating a lot with the with like Stream Deck, or what do they call them, the keys to macros or something, to do something quick. They've been doing a lot of it with the side stuff, on your for your brand and everything. But what they should have, and I'm not sure if they have this implemented yet, is if you can bring in people on and off into like the stage, which we're all on the stage right now. But if they have that where you can go ahead and flick a button and you can go ahead and have just me and Crispy, or and then Crispy gets pulled off, we throw in Phil, and then a conversation continues there. You have the ability to go ahead and kind of shape the direction as a director of the game.
What I don't like about that avenue is that I find like when you rely too much on technology. Well, first I don't like it because I'm a fucking Kaczynskiite, but also like I find oftentimes like you always have like technical problem then, and then you fucking get confused and stuff like that, and something doesn't work, and now like that fucking break your flow, and I fucking hate it. But maybe there's something like we need a way to say like, okay, I took my turn, because that's the thing as well. If somebody reacts to something that's happening to him, right? And we could say, and breaks the round robin role, we could say we can go with it and say, okay, that's fine, but that's gonna be your turn. So now you have to know and you have to accept that you're not gonna talk until everybody else talked.
Yep. Yeah.
Is there a way we can? Because really, it wouldn't be a problem if we could develop this etiquette and this self-discipline, but clearly we fail at that.
Clearly.
A lot of people will watch our videos and say, what's the problem? It just seems so natural what you guys are doing, in a sense. But
Like RPG grandma, put a hat on.
Put a
take
hat
the
on,
hat
take
off.
hat off.
yeah. You know, I'm probably gonna keep on with the idea of putting the character portrait in the corner using the overlay, because I thought that worked out pretty good for when I had that going in our Centauri game. That seemed to work okay. So
Well, but I don't know if it solved the issue, because you were doing it kind of in a reactive way, when somebody was taking a turn, then you would put their portrait on, so we know like who's talking, who's acting, but the person was taking a turn anyway. People weren't waiting for their portrait on before they can speak, right?
Yeah.
The speaking stick.
I'm gonna start using it the other way though. It's gonna be the speaking stick for, you know, as the director.
What would be nice if we could have like the portrait of all the character, and if we could like grade them out, right?
Yeah.
When, like, you had your turn. I'm gonna grade your character out. You're not allowed to speak until you
that
go
could work.
taller.
Just mute them or remove them from the stream.
You kick them from the stream.
I mean, they're not. When you remove somebody, they're still there, right? They're just in the green room.
Yeah, they're just in the waiting room. Yeah.
Just do that for.
What are we talking about here?
I'm getting kicked. I think a lot of this though,
Crispy Coo. That's what we're talking about.
Other than dialogue, and it's just the dialogue, because in dialogue sometimes an interruption does make sense.
Yeah,
and it's
but
organic.
That's why like I wanted to wrap this initiative thing with the tempo thing, because like I think the two are different.
They are
when you're in a dialogue scene, it's different than when you're like in like, oh, it's a fucking chase, or it's combat, or it's like life and death, and then now we have to keep track, and everything move fast, right? You're just like walking around, looking at books and looking at the herbs on the bookshelf. You know? It's like you can take more time there. Like I like the slow burn. Sean was talking about movie before.
Okay, why would things be happening quickly in an abandoned library?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not being chased.
It's on fire.
Electricity still. Yeah. The books are all organized on the shelves, just dusty is all. But what would be a reason for everyone in a panic going through the library as if it's life or death?
Speed investigation, you wouldn't do that. It doesn't make sense.
No.
So you want to have and I love those slow burn as well. I think they build up a lot of attention. They can build a lot.
You hear the sirens coming, in the distance. They're getting closer.
Yeah, Phil did that in his game. That's a good point, Rick.
And that would speed up things in the abandoned.
Well, how long can a slow speed scene or slow burn scene last in a? I mean, you want the whole session needs to be slow burn then, right?
Until somebody's kissing.
No. I think you can have I love those change of rhythm. I think like the contrast between the two rhythm adds a lot to a session.
Sure,
when you have like those slower part but and we talk about cinematic stuff.
What's the longest you would say a player's allowed to do their turn?
Oh, their turn? No,
they're doing something menial, mundane, inane. How long can they do that before you're like,
don't do menial stuff. You can do like I don't mind if you take your time, but
I'm looking for a 5-leaf clover.
Yeah, get them out.
I mean, nobody's gonna do that.
That's a little bit of a stretch. But if we, I guess the answer is, your turn should still be 2-3 sentences max. Like that's it. Yeah. Even a slow burn, you can do a slow burn with 2 sentences, and then it's the next guy's turn.
Yeah.
I've seen games where players don't say anything. That's the
we don't want that.
Turn I've ever seen. The longest non-turn ever.
Yeah, we don't want that. Or the guys that just I don't know. I guess I'll just follow this guy.
Okay, what's the longest a player can't talk before you're like, why are you in this game? And then you kick them. Or are they waiting for their scene to begin? Like they're still on the bus, they haven't arrived yet or something. Meanwhile, you have them sitting there on the screen for 30 minutes.
Well, I mean, we don't really have that issue because we vetted everybody.
I know.
But
I mean, story-wise, script-wise, storytelling-wise, you got that one. You got Phil sitting there in the corner, not saying anything for 45 minutes. But it turns
I'm decomposing. What do you expect?
His character hasn't risen. That's all.
Yeah.
Last session he died.
On my turn, I
Right.
resurrect.
Yeah, we're waiting for his character to reappear somewhere, and he hasn't figured it out yet. He's still thinking.
Can you imagine
What do you
trying
think
to
about this,
forge
guys?
that?
Because
Or
we're
be a
talking about
resurrection.
pacing changes, and Max, you said you like it when there's a sudden pacing change. Well,
Yeah.
maybe the
Or
onus
one
is a little bit on the GM on how he's narrating. So, like, if your narration becomes short, tense, your delivery is quick. You're not elaborating on how dusty the books are and the leather bound
never do that
backs
anyway.
and all of that, and you're just dust falls from the ceiling.
Yeah.
I described very little. As you
Well,
might
the
have
that's-
noticed.
The
But-
player's winning, and the player has no obstacles, and they've made all their rolls, and they can do all the cool stuff they've been wanting to do all session, and now it's just their turn to do it all. They're Mr. Spock on the Enterprise, moving at light speed. We're doing all the repairs.
Yep. But I think if the game master can try to indicate like, okay, now like things are pacing up, but even like also like by what's happening, it should be kind of evident. But the players need to be on the same speed, right? On the same the player, like, even if the game master like do like very short and succinct description, right? If the next player going after take a fucking like 20 minutes turn,
Yeah.
right? A 20-second turn, right? Then it's kind of wasted. So
It is
we need to have
wasted.
this
So it's back to the
understanding.
discipline. You've got to keep yourself disciplined.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
It's always
we
something.
need
that's
something.
to me, that's a
to be-
tone thing or a mood thing or something.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Because I guess like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that's the best way to do it. That's the ideal way to do it. I'm just saying like there's at least this one saving grace from the initiative thing. Then when you say roll for initiative, now everybody knows that okay, now we're in action scene. Now things should move faster, which is not what's happening.
No.
But that's a different issue. But in theory, they would have like this one thing that would clearly indicate like keep your turn short. You do one swift thing, and then it's the next guy to react, and
Can you
wait
give me,
until
like,
everybody acts
what's
before you can
a-
act again.
What's an acceptable long turn to you? Because I don't
In
really
combat?
see a long turn ever being good. No,
Good
ever.
point, Phil.
What's the longest turn in a movie? Is
Like
it when
you
the
got
guy?
Tom Hanks, he's in the Da Vinci Code.
Or
He's
or
not
Castaway.
moving.
Tom Hanks in Castaway. How long is his turn?
I gotta burn this Declaration of Independence. It's like, oh
No,
my
he
God,
he
what are you
talks
doing,
to
Mitch?
Wilson.
Wilson, right?
Yeah.
And
How long
he
is
does,
it?
Doesn't talk
he
back.
does that a
Wilson
few
Wilson doesn't get a turn.
times.
But
He d-
like I mean like even
Wilson
in
gets
Castaway,
praise.
if you were to role play that, the GM would still have turn. It's like it's basically a one-on-one session, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a walking simulator like Dear Esther or something.
yeah,
it's
but like, and
doable.
that's what I wanted to talk about as well. Like
But what's
you
a good
mentioned
long
movie.
turn? That's what I'm saying, man. There's no
Oh, I think,
good
like,
long
What's a
turn.
good? What is a good long turn? In
What does it consist
Gone with the
of?
Wind?
What is a good? You're saying there's a difference between you should be now taking short turns.
Yeah.
When should you be taking a long turn, and what does a long turn sound like? As an example,
Long turn.
it and they will
Spock's
come.
death scene in the Wrath of Khan. That took a little time, didn't it?
we like escalated up to character death.
You know what? That's a good question,
brilliant.
Phil.
You gotta give
there's
it. You gotta
beginning
give a
and end.
player. You gotta give a player center stage. on a character.
My answer
Yeah.
to this would be that you can have your turns could be short, but what you described takes time. So as long so for example, my turn is just I pull on my jogging pants, tie up my shoes, going for a 10-mile run, set my watch, off I go. So my turn is going to take a while because it's going to take some time for me to run that distance. But it should only take me 2-3 sentences to say. Like that's
But
And there's
also
not
like
a
on
gunfight
the
going on next to you.
yeah.
exactly. But on the other end, on the other side of that, I think you can take a little more time describing what you're doing, right? The minutia and stuff like that. Or if you want to interject stuff, if you're not in the action scene. So if you want to say like, oh, I'm taking out my I'm opening my jacket and I reach for my gun in it. I look for like a bullet in the chamber, right? Just like takes a little longer to like, and you can put a little more flavor if you want to describe that and stuff like that, which would take a little longer. added something. Maybe you add like he described something about your character, like your gun is engraved with I rub my finger on the engraving of my mother's name on the side, right? Just like so you add some like, but you're not in the action scene. You're doing something like on the side, which build up your character in a sense. So I said that's a good long turn. You took a little longer, but you build up something.
To me, it's you're traveling, but you're not going anywhere.
That's a good long turn.
Yeah, like in Planet of the Apes, 1968. How long does it take the 3 astronauts to walk from the Forbidden Zone to the City of Apes?
I don't know.
Like 20 minutes? 20 minutes? They spend walking. Just walking.
Yeah.
And they chit-chat, dialogue back and forth, banter, while they're looking for water. That took a while. That's a long scene.
Oh, that's interesting. So, like, Act 1 character introduction moments, you got to kind of like...
That has to be a little longer.
Characters
fill
are
out the
introducing their
personality.
characters to each other, why they chose the mission, why are they 2,000 years in the future, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then at the end of the movie, there's that long-ass scene where him and Nova are just on the horse going up the New York or New Jersey coast or whatever.
Where they
up to
find
New
the
York.
Statue of Liberty. Yeah.
Yeah. That took a while, too.
Nicolas Carmago say what about what's going on right now? You guys are interrupting each other, and everyone is having their turn having their takes. Why is that? I think that's not true. I interrupt a lot, and I like
too.
in when we're gaming, Crispy's the one taking a lot of turn. When on the panel,
all the
it's
time.
me.
All the time.
It's me that never shut up.
Never. That's why I would like my next game. For my goal for myself is to keep all my turns 2 sentences, just all of them. And then once I get better at that, then maybe every so often I can add a 3rd sentence. But a long term for me is way too long compared to everyone else. So I need to, myself personally, the goal is to pull way back and then get comfortable with that before I start adding a little bit more in.
In Star Trek, a long scene is Kirk talking to McCoy about how he has to wear glasses because he's allergic to Red Knox 5 or some stupid thing. Because for his birthday, McCoy gives him glasses to read. And Kirk's talking about he doesn't want to get old.
Yeah.
That scene went on for 10 minutes in that movie.
That's all Act 1 shit.
Yeah.
It's totally like a personality anchor situation.
But in Alien, what's the longest scene in Alien?
Oh man,
20 seconds?
No. I rewatched all the Aliens recently, actually.
Where
during
she's
my
stripping down and putting on her spacesuit? That's the longest scene, I think.
The opening of Alien, of the first
That's the
Alien,
scene I saw the most.
is
when they
slow
wake up?
as hell. Like it's like 20 minutes before like there's an
Yeah, the
interaction
start.
between character with
The camera's showing
long
you
like,
the ship and how it
the
lights
ship,
up.
and then like at some point like there's one character that wakes up and nobody else and is in the cockpit
Yeah.
and is doing stuff and the camera is just linger on him.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
really
don't
Scott.
like. I like that, right? I just and movie don't do that anymore. Like movie
Blade
used
Runner
to
did
take
that
their
too.
time.
Yeah.
And that's something I wanted to talk about as well. Like when you say like being cinematic and stuff like that, and you say like how long before Captain America do something, right? Well, if you're talking about Marvel movie, it's gonna be a very different pacing than those.
Well, is
if we
he
talk about
already
those
Captain
old
America,
movie,
or is he still
Yeah.
the whelp?
Roger, and and
Steve Rogers? Yeah.
I like
'Cause-
a lot of like Wes Anderson movie, like how long the scene those movie are, right? And there's a lot of like talking, it's a lot of character building and stuff like that.
Fistful of
I like
Dollars, the longest scenes ever with the music box.
Yeah, Westerns are in a whole other.
Yeah, and I like the old French movie, like À bout de souffle, like Breathless, and like stuff like that, right? Just like very different,
9.5
very
weeks,
different vibe. Yes.
or 8.5, 8.5, or whatever it was.
9.5.
There's
I know
no
it's like-
From the 60s.
Yeah, but
I like Diva. You ever see Diva? 1980, I think. Takes
I think
place
so.
in France. It's all
I
French.
never
It's about an opera. It's
It's
this opera singer. She's super famous, but she doesn't record her songs. She doesn't record her singings on tape or record. So these Korean or Chinese dudes come in with a tape recorder and they record her opera, and then they try to sell it on the black market. It's an illegal copy of her voice because no one's ever heard her. You have to go to the opera house to hear her sing. Anyway, so the movie's about these who's got the recording.
Yeah.
It's very France noir for its time. It's called Diva, 1980, I think. One of the
Nicholas,
best
would you
movies
like,
ever made.
Would you like to join us, Nicholas?
It's got slow parts and it's got fast parts. Just like Fifth Element has slow
All right,
parts
I'll
and
watch it.
fast parts.
Jesus, Sean.
It's called Diva.
I wrote it down already.
You will
But
thank
yeah, like
me
those
later.
the slow part and fast part, I think they're important. This contrast, like it make it matter when there's an action scene.
Yeah.
Well, when you were describing the beginning scene of Alien, that's pretty much like the game master setup, like his kind of intro to the whole thing for the players, to get them into the mood, kind of thing, and then
Oh yeah, that's fair.
everybody starts waking up, and and then you go through the rounds.
So where would you start then? Would you start in the canteen when they're like all doing like chit chat?
Yeah.
Sure.
But even that is pretty slow,
Nah.
and it's a lot of like idle chit chat. But
I mean,
it build a relationship between the character. For the viewer, it's kind of important. Like we get to know who they are, like how they interact with each other, like what kind of people they are. Oh, they're just like kind of like space trucker or whatever. They're not like big badass marine. They're regular people
they're
doing a job.
It's just showing that they're human. They're not just robotic people that sleep.
And they're not like train killing machine. They're like
they're just ordinary people like us, and they can bleed because you see that
kind of blue collar people.
Yeah.
All right, Nicolas, no problem, no worry. If you at some point you want to join, usually I put the link in the chat, but now like I have a lot of people.
Now in that movie, in Alien, there's a countdown, so I use countdowns to keep players going if they're trying to get somewhere before the countdown ends.
I tried to do that in my Fear City game. I was describing distance. And so on the gangplank, top of the gangplank.
Oh yeah. I got
halfway down the gangplank, 10 feet left on the gangplank. Yeah. There's this idea that there's motion happening and this is trying to drive things forward. Car pulls up, second car pulls up. That.
Yeah, I'll rewatch that game before the tweaker this Saturday, because I got confused in that part, and I want to see why. Probably just me. Yeah.
Well, I know. I think that it was. I think it was more related, Max, to what we're talking about tonight, which is how do you keep. Like I was trying to get more of a frenetic pacing going, and it's hard to do that if we're not have that discipline of staying in the initiative order and just quickly going through and keeping turns brief. So, yeah.
Solved it.
What?
We did it. We solved it.
We solved the issue.
You gotta practice though.
We're gonna have to practice it because it's still it's easy to say, but then we'll run a game and it'd be like, what happened there? Why am I interrupting everyone again? It's obviously
it's always like the game jitters, like the start of the game jitters for me. I always just like immediately drop round robin. I'm gonna fucking do whatever the hell I'm doing.
You cram the night before doing your calculus.
I think it's also like we in a sense, as we get excited, we're in the moment, we're in our character and stuff like that. We're immersed. We're immersed,
fully immersed.
And then so something happened around us, and we like our character basically, which we see as us in the moment or as ourselves in the moment. So we want to react, and we get excited, we get jumpy and stuff like that. It's very hard to keep the distance, saying like, well, I just fucking did something. Now something else happened next to me. I would want to react to that, but I have to wait until. And that's also the thing when you
can still move in your chair. You can still do this, not saying
shake it back.
Oh, no. You got handcuffs. You're in the back of the van. You're being taken to a prison, and someone's blowing up the van from outside, and you go. Other people are talking, but you're in the back doing this.
Do that,
Max. I wonder if some of that problem would be solved or at least ameliorated by the fact that everyone's being quick. So then, you want to get back to something awesome that is happening or something you're really engaged with. as long as everyone else is quick with their turns, then it's going to come around to you again in just a few seconds. There you go.
What if Phil's the driver of the armored truck and he's you're driving. No, you're a hero right now. You're driving the armored. You're driving me to my execution, and you and the guy riding shotgun. Like, what the hell was that? You know, the hood goes, and the engine comes out of the truck and everything. And you Phil say, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And you're done with your turn, and then how does the next person know whose turn it is?
Oh, that's where we go to the initiative round robin order, right?
Okay, round robin then, because the shotgun
the way we talked about it, I don't know when we talked about it. I think it might have been after the gangster game. We were like, what I was doing is I anchored myself to Rick, and I was just like, whenever Rick goes, I'm going after Rick, and then
that's a good idea. If
that's
you're
when I
near
started
each other.
going. So like, you don't have to actually think about it. You just need to know when you go next.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are sight to sight with each other, right? Because at one time Rick was sort of like your guard.
Well, not always.
Until you fired him or something. That's when
I'm talking about Fear City.
In Fear City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the witch game.
There was some
Rick
division.
Was cut your
Phil
head
at
off.
one time was searching through a car while everyone else was up on the top floor of a walk-up apartment building. Yeah. So there was some split there. Then there was at Doc's place where he was up. There was a couple of people investigating upstairs in his apartment while two were in the parkade. So
I think,
but if we can just stay in the round robin, that'll be fine.
Well, this sounds corny, but I like the idea of a buddy system where players just pair off with each other.
Yeah, oftentimes we're like a odd number though. So like, but now they were paired up with an NPC. But I think in the Fear City game,
no one was Sisman's buddy though.
And you got the NPC with you. Always got the NPC with you, Phil.
Yeah, that one young guy,
my henchman,
the heartbroken dude.
Stop killing people.
But
stop throwing chicken hearts everywhere.
Let me live my life, Sean.
Tell me what to do.
You're not the boss of me.
You're not the boss of me.
In Fear City, I think those split worked pretty good.
They would have been better if I didn't have an NPC in every scene. That I think was a mistake. But we'll tear it apart.
But then who am I splitting with?
During yourself. You just go by yourself.
It was good for Phil to have somebody to interact with as well, right?
Yeah.
But
you need NPCs, but they don't have to be active ones. They could just be background NPCs. You don't want the main characters to be the only people.
See, I'd rather the NPC there be the van that you're investigating. You know, rather than just someone that's always going to prompt you to the next thing. That's that.
Yeah,
anyway.
Definitely don't. Yeah.
Oh,
don't make him this way, guys.
This way. Hey, what about that? What about that thing?
Remember that other NPC said this, so we should go here.
Yeah.
I'll make up an NPC on the fly. You know, Martha, we're going this way. The mothership crashed that way. We're going this way. And she's like, no, I'm not. We're still in the middle of a divorce. I'm not going with you no more. I'm going with the mothership. And you see this going on, and then they're just there for that one localized area, and then the players run past them, and then they're gone. But they're sort of describing that there is a mothership to the south, and there's a passageway this way where the wife wants to go and the husband wants to, whatever.
Good.
So I use NPCs.
When we have a split and we're not in an action scene, right? We're still in interaction tempo. Just to use I'm forcing those terms on you. Would be okay to do like kind of cheat the round robin a bit, like kind of like do 2 rounds with this group, 2 rounds with this group, 2 rounds with this, just to keep the flow.
I like that.
Natural.
Yeah, I like that too. 2 and 2, 2 and 2.
Yeah, that keeps it kind of cinematic too, because you do see the scenes where you've got the conversation going on with the couple of them, and then you go switch to another,
Yeah, a little less dizzying.
It takes them 2 turns to do their thing, and then it takes the other group 2 turns to do their thing.
And those could be a little longer.
We can come back to the first group
if they're running up flights of stairs, or if they're trying to get the spaceship transporter thing calibrated.
That's what I'm saying. If we're not in the action scene, right? If we're not in action tempo, right? It's just like interaction. There's gonna be like some dialogue, some like looking around, investigation stuff. We can take a bit more time, right? Time is not like so critical, second to second.
Ripley and Ash, they're fighting. in someone's bedroom. What? That wasn't even a bedroom. What was that? He's trying to.
You downloaded the wrong alien.
He's got the girly magazine. He's trying to shove it down her throat.
Shove it in,
I thought that was in the common room or something like that. There.
I don't remember, but that scene went for a while. Lambert and Parker were doing their own thing. Yeah. And eventually Parker shows up and he's like, what the hell? And he grabs Ash or starts hitting him with something. Ash is a goddamn robot. Yeah. That scene was going on with those two characters. Lambert and Brett were doing something together, that kind of thing. Because they're separate on the ship,
I guess I need to watch Alien again.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I
think the other thing too, talking about this tempo idea that you've put forward, Max, of the interaction, action, transition. Who's in charge of deciding when that is? Well, that should be the player. The player decides. Is this going into action tempo? It's not just up to the game master to say, okay, now guys, roll initiative. No, because at any moment you could pull a gun and shoot, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of implied by the action of the player, or the action of
or the world around.
It could be an NPC as well, right?
What about perception rolls? Because to me that seems lumped in with initiative sometimes.
Perception roll?
Yeah, I've seen that. Where I've done that. We're like, okay, Rick, make
slow.
a perception roll, and Rick rolls a nat 1 or something.
Yeah,
the bus wipes you right off the sidewalk. You're done.
Oops.
Yeah.
Went right from interaction to action, right? But the pivot point was the perception roll. Yeah.
And how do only certain characters perceive things? Or is that for a different live stream?
Perception rolls is probably a totally...
That's a whole different topic.
That's another big topic. That's
a very interesting topic.
It's an interesting topic. It's one we should think about.
About that next week.
That and how to do magical, hallucinations.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good topic as well.
That was a suggestion from yesterday. I think that was a really good.
Do it without saying you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And social roles.
Social roles. That's another one.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. But yeah, so okay, let's try to. What did we figure out so far? If we talk a lot about the problem we have.
You got to come up with a signal of some kind to let players know when their time is up.
You put your finger on your nose.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good. And then everyone does it while someone's talking, and eventually they'll see someone. Like,
they pull their ear or something.
You do that as kids. The last person that raises their hand is the one that has to do it. Like, just quietly
smelt
raise
it,
your
does
hand. Takeaway for me, Max, is I think it was Rick or Phil that said it, but a combination of what Rick and Phil said. Staying disciplined. So this is the turn order. When we're out of dialogue, then we're right back to that turn order that was established at the beginning of the game. And then, like Phil said, we've already agreed. Your turn is going to be 2 sentences. So stay to that. 2 sentences.
2 preposition,
Yeah. And one of those, ideally,
well,
because
that's right. I'm good at run-on sentences, obviously, but the idea is that one of those is an anchoring statement of some kind, and the other is an action statement or something like it's some kind of
you guys
grounding.
Are good. You guys English is good.
I use semicolons.
All this grammar we're using, it's great.
You can say I do this. I just recently been practicing saying first person instead of third person all the time. I
actually think that helps with speed too. I think describing as I makes the language tighter and faster. So something I was thinking about. If I'm discussing in third person, then the camera is positioned up behind me, and I'm narrating but it's a lot faster if I just say I do this. Like
what RPG game must say that, like if they look stupid like at you when it's their turn, like the Jeopardy song, like I guess like I understand she's making a joke, but that's also the thing. Like I don't want to be jarring as well, and I don't want to feel like I'm berating the player.
No,
because I don't want them to get in the bad mind space, right? I don't want them to be like too self-conscious and then like on the next turn like try now to overcorrect and stuff like that. Like I don't want to. You know, some people say like, "Oh, your turn, you did a too long turn, so I'm just gonna say like, oh, his character is just staring to the void and thinking about the future." I don't want to do fucking that. I think that's fucking stupid.
Yeah,
No
'cause it
offense
is.
to.
What if another player just complains in character?
Complaints in
Yeah.
character. That's
Yeah,
all
this
right.
is-
That's your
That's
turn.
enough. That's enough with your nonsense. You've done
Oh.
you've done your bit. You know,
Well,
and
that
then
I think I've done that a couple times.
use dialogue to tell the
Yeah.
other character, knock it off.
Yeah,
You've
I
heard
guess
this all before.
you could do that, but like oftentimes I think a lot of what stretched out turn is the flavor, and
You can.
that's something I want to talk about, like, because like
So you want to
we don't
stretch
wanna-
things out?
you don't want to cut all the flavor, you know. But
Yeah.
maybe
We
need
still have to
complete
say.
the
You still
turn
have to.
sometimes.
I prefer players say where they're at and what they're doing. Now it's kind of
Yeah.
boring saying where you're at every freaking turn, but after a while you don't have to say where you're at all
Yeah.
the time. But when you move, you need to say you moved.
Yeah,
If you
but
light a
I like
cigarette,
I
you
like that
should
a lot,
say you're
Sean,
lighting a
and
cigarette.
the one thing like I would add to that is like, yeah, tell me where you're at, what you're doing, what you're saying, ideally in that order.
Yeah.
So then it's clear. You establish where you are. Okay, you want to do an action when you speak, and then you speak.
Yeah, your
If
character
you
says,
if you enter action time, it's not time to do a whole fucking discourse, right? Your speak is gonna be like a quirp, not even 2 sentences. Like, you know, it's like 2 words, something like
yeah,
that.
you have that one character that says, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't cuss. And then they're searching their pockets and they go, God damn it, I left my cigarettes at the bar. That's one turn. To me, that's the time it took to say that. That's a complete turn. I shouldn't be able to do anything more after that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty specific example.
Pretty
Yeah.
specific turn.
Well, I don't know. If you ever go to bars, I don't know if
think
people
that
go to
happened all the
bars
time.
anymore.
It's the one time you're allowed to talk. before
At
you-
bars, you have a turn to say something because no one wants to sit next to the guy that does all the talking.
No.
Yeah.
Some people just want to drink and be
Oh,
left
that's why
alone.
I drink alone.
Yeah.
Is that healthy? I don't know. Is that?
Now,
I wouldn't know.
if I'm telling a George Harrison story, I probably wouldn't tell it at a bar because people just want to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
But like we've had games where players will speed up other players or other player characters by what they're doing. Like I was
Yeah, there was like a point where Crispy's
No fast travel.
character was like trying to talk to some NPC about the herbalism that the mom was doing, and I was like, enough of your
enough of this.
I remember
knowledge.
that. I remember
That was
that.
great. That was good. That was a good signal. Now, if only I picked up on it. But it was a good
Yeah, I
signal.
thought it was cool. I don't know
Yeah.
that
Became-
I was like
it became
berating you
a-
as a player, but
It was
No.
an old 60s show called Crispy the Medicine Man or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what it was turning into.
Crispy, don't put that in your mouth.
But that's
Spit
at
that
some
out.
point, like we're almost like in a Columbo, like those old Columbo show, right?
Yeah.
That was
'Cause
the
Max-
kind
Max,
of
you
thing
had-
we had there.
Max, you had 3 or 4 NPCs and they weren't getting their turns.
I had 2 in that
Well,
scene.
you had 2 guys and then you had the
I tried to
girl
split them
and
off.
the dad.
Oh yeah, at that point, yeah.
Yeah, in the mine you had 4.
You had 4 people
mine I had
in mine,
4.
and they weren't getting their turns. They weren't part of the round robin.
that's true.
Yeah, they were non-erect character, so I wanted to let them, like, sometimes like I was okay with letting them, like, they were basically like just stalling there, like they were like in shock, not knowing what
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah,
So
they weren't.
I
The
did-
girl
I-
wasn't running around or
was a-
nothing.
No, she was like scared. She was like crying on the floor, right? It was a conscious effort because I didn't want to add more to what's happening. So it was a conscious
The
effort.
Beast Man
sometimes.
could have been a quantum ogre that you just put in front of everybody, but I'm glad you weren't doing that. But he was
Well, I
moving
didn't
around.
know, like he kind of got manifested quite a, yeah. I wanted to just have him like a, I don't know. I was trying
He
to.
would be in the darkness and then go back and kill someone.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
back to the
He didn't want to
darkness.
be seen too much and expose himself. Like I see, like, you know, probably can see in the dark and shit like that. So he's gonna use that as an advantage. And he didn't really want to kill those guys.
Yeah.
He just wanted them to let his daughter alone.
The trick
So-
is for the
Bad.
player the trick is for the players to not try to play Columbo during the scene, and just stay in character, and just act as if they don't know what's going on. They don't know that someone just got mauled by a beast man because they weren't near that spot.
Yeah.
Just focus
Well,
on
they
what
were all
they're
pretty
doing.
cool.
I really want to watch some Columbo.
Yeah. Since Ben was trying to like
I could.
show chicken art, and then like just fucking beast man show up.
My only issue with that whole session was the chicken hearts or something. How big is a chicken heart?
I was thinking it's
they're
like a
they're
little
pretty
like
Chicken
small.
hearts, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
one
you threw
bite.
s-
tiny.
maybe
You
a
threw
half
some
dollar.
under you were throwing some under a house.
Yeah.
Now, what was the plan? You were hoping
So
someone
if
else.
I make the stealth roll, right, then in the
Yeah.
morning I'm going like, oh, and then I had a vision, and then I pry open the boards
Oh, okay. So you would be the one to find the
underneath
things.
underneath the bed.
Okay.
I might
Yeah.
get someone to pry open the boards for me.
Okay.
We would eat like chicken art in bar in Brazil all the time. Something
Okay.
like they
So
that's
serve
like
you
the-
when you drink.
That's like the
pretty good.
fireman that shows up after
Chewy.
a building's been
Backdraft.
burned down,
Yeah.
and he instantly solves how the fire was started because he's the guy who started it the night before.
Yeah, I was gonna have like a Sherlock moment. Be like, check beneath the floorboards.
I thought you were throwing them. I thought you were throwing them, and then you would tell somebody, "Hey, there's some chicken hearts under their house. I bet if you look, there's probably some under the house right now. If you look."
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna do that.
That's what I was
Nicolas got a
That's
question
more
there
like
that's,
the mentalist kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Nicolas
Yeah.
got a question there that is a bit related to this scene we're talking about. Like, how do you entertain separate group in metagaming? That's an interesting one as well, because I don't think that all metagaming
You need
is bad
mature
necessarily.
players.
Well, the players trapped in the volcano are not gonna know what's going on at the hotel casino.
But there's opportunities for like comedy. You know what I mean? Like in the Fear City game,
Yeah.
there's like a huge murder scene up there, and I like find a little blood in the car, and I'm like, guys, it's not looking good. It's looking
Yeah,
real bad
like-
out there."
Yeah.
And they're like, it's pretty crazy up here. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, and
don't know.
I think
I thought that was glorious.
Yeah,
But
and
that's
I
like
think
it's that like responsible metagame.
I picked up on that at some point. I think like I forgot what it was exactly. Like, but you said something because from something when you said, and then I came to you and I told you like the same thing that you just said. Like, but kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, it's kind of
Yeah, as
Like,
we
as
did
a-
it,
as a
we
kind of like
replaced
comedian.
it again. Like at dots,
Yeah.
we did the same move. That's kind
yeah.
of
But and you were talking earlier about the scene from Alien when is it Parker his name when he show up when Ash is trying to shove the
Yeah.
magazine, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a role-playing game and there's this scene happening when like Ash and fuck what's his
Ripley.
name Ripley
Ripley.
or in this tussle, right? Then there's the other character in the other scene, and then like maybe somebody, oh, you know what? Now we cut back to them and they say, I'm gonna go see what the fucking Ripley is doing. The players know that something's happening, but now it allows you to have this cool scene where like the character interrupts something that maybe wasn't, you could have the players say, well, I don't want to go there because it's gonna feel metagamey and stuff like that, but then you're depriving yourself from the scene evolving in a cool way. So I don't think that all metagaming is bad.
Well,
But,
you would hear something. Maybe she hits an intercom and the whole ship-wide announcement PA system. You hear her struggling or something, and
Yeah.
they stop whatever it is they're doing and they go run to wherever. I think Parker just happened to be walking by when that was happening.
Yeah,
he
I
wasn't
think-
in the engine room.
I feel like Parker was an NPC that was brought in by the GM at the last moment, kind of thing.
But
That's how it felt. Like when you see it,
Maybe.
because he just kind of shows up, and it wasn't like implied that he was wanting to go ahead and go into the room and see what was happening. It was just he just
that's
showed
something
up.
like
If I'm
that's
playing that
really
fight
leaving a lot of,
scene, that is really frustrating when people do metagame and walk into that
Yeah.
fight. I don't want them to.
I've had players all of a sudden go from the ground floor of a building up to the rooftop in seconds
Yeah.
when a fight starts, and they were supposed to take their sweet ass time,
Yeah.
not
Yeah, exactly,
knowing if
like-
there's a fight even happening up there.
time need to be respected, And there need to be like some kind of excuse being given. Like there needs to be some logical. Like you don't just randomly go there suddenly. Like if you're waiting for somebody and then somebody doesn't show up, and then say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go check up on them," right? And then you go when you take your time. You're not to rush. You arrive there. There's still some stuff happening. Then you can do something, right? I don't know. I'm not like I don't think that it should be only on the preview of the GM to send an NPC or say, "Oh, you hit the intercom," or stuff like that. Like you can do that. That can be helpful. That those are tools you can use. But I'm not opposed for
you would use Parker as an NPC then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I'm not opposed to that. But if Parker was as a PC, I would be okay too with the like when we do a cut back during the fight, then Parker just saying like, "Where is she?" Like and just like oh,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to.
I would have Parker as a player character, and if that player character is nowhere around, guess what? Ripley's dead. And maybe no one knows what happened to Ripley, and they say, "Hey, Ash, you look kind of
Hillary."
Robots they sweating milk. He sweats milk, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't look well. See, Ash doesn't know how to kill people, so he was kind of like making it up as he was going along. Plus, it gives time for Parker to show up.
What do you think, Crispy, about this metagaming stuff?
It's an issue. I come across this in my in-person games sometimes.
So what's the worst metagaming?
Wait, let's finish talk.
Well,
talking about it, listening to each other.
We're interrupting, Shauner.
And then I want to know what the easiest metagaming is after that.
All right, okay, so we'll get on that.
What's the best question?
The biggest problem with metagaming is, especially when it does happen, is that I'll have players afterwards say, when we're talking about the session, like, "How did you know that you didn't do like?" Other players actually, as we practice being better in character role players, they get angry like at each other, like they don't be doing that. Like that's not. It breaks for them. Like they'll complain. One player will complain to another. Say, "When you did that, that broke the immersion for me because it broke the." All of a sudden, you knew somehow that I was going to be falling from the roof on that point, and then like all of a sudden, there's a mattress that you've had just in hand. You weren't even here. Like, why? How is it that you knew this? So, it's an egregious thing that comes up from time to time, and that's why we tend in my in-person group we tend to practice dividing the party, so that players get used to the idea of segmenting information so that they're not using the information that they didn't have. And we just keep practicing that. We're not perfect at it, but this hasn't become a big issue. It's a little bit of an issue in some of our sessions, but in a minor way, I'd say. Phil pointed out one of the worst, perhaps, instances of it that we've had. We haven't had too many other, like I don't remember anything in Fear City that I was like, "Oh yeah, they're using information they don't have." That I'll have to watch it again to see if it happened, but I don't think it happened. And there was multiple times where the players weren't in the same area.
Yeah, but in Fear City,
social contract. You can do social contract with that stuff because they're like movies have that crap going on all the time, right? Where like randomly someone will show up and have what you need. I mean, that's a thing that happens in stories all the time. So I think you have to establish it in a social contract because it is kind of like a thing that makes a cool narrative. If it occasionally
in Fear City, I did like use some metagaming knowledge, like, but just to create like some symmetry, to create like an interesting moment, stuff like that. Like especially when like Phil was in the car downstairs, we're in the murder scene upstairs, right? Mm-hmm. And even when I was in the car, I was with the car downstairs with Phil, and I decided to go upstairs. Why did I decide to go upstairs at some point?
Because there's been a murder up there, and you're a metagamer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have to watch it again.
I had a reason to go.
I think we were just like it was taking a while, and you thought, that Rick's character would have made more of a commotion.
Exactly. I was outside.
Like,
I was
outside. Too quiet.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I made an excuse. That's what I'm saying. Like I was using metagaming knowledge. I was metagaming there, but I try to do it like find an in character excuse to justify it, right? And in my opinion, I think that's all right.
I think that was okay. It wasn't like, smells like a guy dead on his lazy boy. I better get up there. No, it was.
Exactly.
Hey,
I'm just like, it's too quiet up there. Like,
it's way too quiet.
Like, we should hear like some tussle. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go
There
see
should
what's
be a
happening.
head through a window by now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was your character a smoker?
Yeah.
So you'd have like you'd have like 12 cigarette butts on the street next to your feet. That signals that you've been down waiting too long.
Gentlemen, I gotta leave. Hope you have a good evening.
Oh,
thanks for dropping in, Phil.
Take care,
Thanks for
Phil.
having me on your stream.
Are you role playing right now?
I'm role playing a leaving role player.
He's got exams to get ready for.
And
Oh, that's right.
silly games tomorrow to play.
Oh yes, that's right. Feast of
Take care,
Legends.
y'all.
Yeah, tomorrow, Feast of Legend.
Feast of
Phil's
Legends
gonna
tomorrow,
run
guys.
that for us. The Wendy's game. So don't miss out. What time do we start tomorrow? 9? 9 Eastern?
Yes.
Right on.
I should probably
All right.
put that up
Are
there.
you going to do it in 4D?
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to make it the most 4D game so far. All safeties are off. These guys are going to basically make the whole game. I'm going to sit there and go like, that was easy.
Yeah, like that. That's what I did.
Nice.
Yeah, have a good night.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care, Phil. See you tomorrow. Yeah. So
We got to go back to
the worst-
Shauner's question. What's the
Yeah, the
worst?
worst case
what's
what's
the least worst?
No, what's the best use of metagaming? Like what's the preferred method?
for me, like the best way of metagaming is like when you justify, when it makes sense in the fiction, in what's happening in the story, and it served the narrative. I'm saying that word wrong. So all of a
Hey,
sudden.
it's almost like you go into a house and the house hasn't been described and you decide to start playing a piano.
Yeah.
Now, there was no piano in the living room, but now there is
Yeah,
one.
that would be part of
Is
what
that
we call like
metagaming?
No, I
that
don't
would just
think that's
be
metagaming.
qualify as a 4D, just like manifesting stuff, right?
It would be
What if-
metagaming if you knew the monster was sensitive to minor chords, and then you decide you're going to create the grand piano in the dungeon right next to the monster. That's metagaming. Yeah.
What if you knew that you were going to level up right about now if you just played one more chord?
My piano skill just needs one more thing. That's metagaming. That's like I have the keyboard right in front of me. Thank you, Yamaha, God of Yamaha.
I'm this
Please.
close to becoming Bard level 12.
Yeah, that's metagaming. That sucks. You
And
suddenly have a
then-
brain aneurysm. You're dead.
And
Next
then
character.
you figure out how to transport this piano everywhere you go as part of your entourage or something.
But just saying that you walk into the room and it looks like this a piano teacher lived here at one time. There's a piano over on the side. I'll sit down,
Or if
start
you have a
playing
bag-
chopsticks.
If you have a
When
lunch
you were,
bag full of sandwiches, because everyone's
Talking
hungry.
about piano and metagaming, when you were in the apartment of the doctor, right? And you described Chris Peter as a piano,
Yeah.
and I went straight to the piano key and started like playing on it, right? Just fucking around the piano, right? And then like, there's some key that sound deaf, or
Something wrong.
What-
Out of tune.
yeah. Well, tone like what's the term when they muted?
Yeah, they were muted. There's because there was stuff that was pressing on those particular piano strings, so they couldn't resonate. So he's down in the pedal tones, and he hits it, and it's a dead key.
So
Like, there's another
me
dead key.
going to the when you describe piano and me like immediately going toward it and playing on it, is that metagaming? Kind
No.
of.
Well, no, that's
No?
interacting in this. That's interaction with the scene.
Yeah, you have to
It's
keep in
something your
mind,
character would
Crispy
do, right?
made up everything. He made up everything in that moment. So when he described the certain things in that room, they were kind of like key things in that room that had to be there for what he was thinking.
When
of
I
it.
said piano, I wasn't my initial intent was I just wanted to show that Doc had a significant amount of wealth.
No,
So
so
he
you didn't know
has-
there was something in the piano
No.
at that point.
Ah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I was just showing that this guy
assumed-
he's a single
Yeah.
guy, but he's the single guy with this like high end furniture and beautiful grand piano, like a Steinbeck or something like really expensive.
Yeah.
Interesting. It'll be an interesting, tweak to go over all that stuff.
Yeah.
That was an interesting session.
Because like for me, like I kind of saw it like, if like we're looking for a clue on this guy, and for me that seemed like a place to hide shit, right? So that's why I went there, right?
No, it was great. I just went with it. But to answer Shauner's question, I think it becomes metagaming if you're trying to put something there to win the scene.
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to win. Like there's some kind of mechanical advantage I can get if I put this one thing here. Then, I mean, there's a limit to how much that is reasonable. I mean, some of it has to be reasonable because, okay, well, there's a fire. Well, I go and pull the fire alarm. Well, did I ask if there was a fire alarm, or like, what do I grab the fire extinguisher from just down the hallway and I rush back. Is that metagaming? There's a fire in the kitchen. I run to go get the extinguisher under the sink.
Fire extinguishers are kind of tricky things. So it could be just powder that comes out of it instead of, a strong stream of carbon dioxide or something. It could all kinds of things. Yeah, the bottom is rusted out and falls as you go
or it's
ahead.
empty.
It could be all kind. Yeah, expired like 10 years ago.
Someone stole it, or that's where the drugs were.
All kinds of things.
All the drugs are in the in the fire extinguisher.
Oh shoot!
Dang it! This cocaine's not working at all. Maybe it would. Maybe it'd be like baking soda or something. Oh, it worked great.
Metagaming.
And
the whole thing about like when sorry?
I try to do whatever my character would be doing at the time.
Yeah.
Like, what would my character do right now? So that would be my turn.
Yeah. Stay in the mindset of your character. That's all. Like roleplay solve everything. But metagaming, what Crispy say, if you're trying to win, for your character to win, for me, winning in a role-playing game is if we have like a cool session, a cool narrative. That's
the experience.
Right?
Yeah. The experience itself is the win.
You're not there to win. You're there to survive.
How long?
Well, even if you don't survive, Rick, it's still a win if you had a great experience. Like it's
exactly.
Yeah.
Those games, those 4D games you've been playing now for a month. How long do you think you'll remember those sessions for?
Oh, they're gonna stick.
I'm gonna remember Rick's Centauri session forever. That was absolute standout.
I'm gonna remember everything that we do, on all these games. They're just great.
That's the reason I role play, because you think you were. It feels like you were there. They're your memories,
That's true, but I think it's good that we've had this conversation where we're talking about this, because we are trying to develop an etiquette where everyone comes away with that feeling, and we don't have someone that's like, you know what, it just felt like I just wasn't getting enough like I didn't get enough screen time, or I just didn't get, I'm skipping this.
Never happened to you, Crispy.
No, because I'm a jerk. I just talk.
You're very assertive when
I am. I'm like, no.
40 years later, you're like, I could have done that character better on that one scene there.
Oh, I will do that. I will do that.
When you,
but that won't make me like it any less. I will do that.
When you see a very good movie that you like a lot, right, and it leaves an impression on you for a long time, right? For me, like those 4D sessions, they're like that and above, like and beyond, right? Because like you're there, right? Just like.
And guess what the other sessions are like? Where you go see a movie, it's crap, and the ending was dumb, and you could think of 1,000 better endings to that movie you just saw. That's how most games are.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you want to go up a bit to Doc Flamingo's thing, or did you start that already? He had a question for us.
I did start it. Yeah, question what do you guys think of the new trend I've noticed where GM let player dictate what happens narratively in games through and out tokens and the like? I load the idea myself. I think I read that all right.
You did great. Yeah, that was good.
Tokens.
So
you want to
using a meta currency to change the.
Because you're a Savage World player, Crispy.
Yeah, that is one thing that they do say in the manual in Savage Worlds. You can use a Benny to influence a narrative.
A retcon.
I've never liked it. I've never used Bennies that way, and I read that section really quickly so that it doesn't stick in. I'm not a big fan of that. And I think that what we're talking about, and when we're talking about co-creation and this idea of 4D, if you have players you can trust, then you don't need a meta currency to do it. So I'm fine with, we're certainly fine with the co-creation player and game master, whatever the percentage split is. That's something that is decided beforehand. But you don't need a currency for it.
I'm okay with it if it's, say for example, a scene. The guy has the potion that's gonna cure the princess, and it's sliding off the pedestal. It's going off into the abyss, and the guy reaches out to grab it, and he flubs his roll, but then he remembers he's got that that one card, or Benny puts that down, does the second roll, and just grabs it just at the nick of time. Something like that would work.
Actually, I did. Actually, my character does cure cancer. Actually,
that. Come to think of it, Rick, I do use something like that in my we have the adventure cards for Savage Worlds, and what the adventures cards do is they have something like that. Like they'll have a specific thing that you can make happen. The way I use them is I'll shuffle the deck, I'll deal out one card to every player, and I never know what the card is. And they're not to tell me, and they're not to tell anyone else. And so what would happen is that they'd play this card. The one that they love to hit me with is called Villainous Verbosity, which means instead of my bad guy doing what I wanted him to do, he has to spend his whole turn talking about how great his plan is. Yeah. It's the whole monologuing thing from The Incredibles, like oh, you caught me monologuing. So they would use stuff like that. But as much as there's been some really great reveals with that, I'm moving away from Savage Worlds, and we're moving to other systems now. It's just not as it's I don't like it as much as I used to.
So what if the potion falls into the abyss? It's gone.
Yeah.
The players are just going to have to rough it and figure another way.
Yep,
exactly.
Maybe
a whole new quest begins.
Somebody's getting like some value out of the stream.
Oh, good. I'm good. I'm glad. Something.
Yeah.
Something I've said.
Personally, those meta currency to change the narrative, I hate them, and people often think about, like, when we talk about 4D and we say, we let the player interject stuff in the scene and stuff like that, create stuff in the scene through their interaction with the character, right? You want to interact like you did with the BB with the phone, like, oh, you got one of those new phone there, and you go and you do the redial. That's a cool scene, right? Cool interjection there. Crispy didn't talk about a phone, but now you have you just have decided you have this redial, and now you open a whole fucking thing, right? And I like that. And people when we talk about that, some people say, oh, it's like those games that allows the player to steal the narrative from the GM. And no, it's not about stealing the narrative. It's about sharing the narrative, right? I don't want that aspect to be gamified, because the game side is that you had something and now I get to react to it, right? Yep. It put me on my toes, right? Is that the expression? Yeah.
I mean, you'll have NPCs too, right? Yeah. You're going to have characters too you're role-playing.
Yeah. Yeah. So for that reason, I don't like, and that's a whole generation of a role playing that try to gamify every aspect of the hobby, right? Like those Dungeon World and Burning Wheel do that to us too a lot, actually, as well. And I think that's a mistake, because you don't need to add another game layer on the role playing game, where the role playing is, you're still in game mode when you're role playing, because it's improvised, because there's this back and forth and this push and pull and this this thing that you do. I hope that answers your question, Doc Flamenco. You had something to add, Shona?
Oh, I was going to say something mean, but I remembered in your comments or your description down below. You said
the rules. I got rules here.
So I won't say what I'm thinking then.
You can say something mean about people here in the square. Yeah.
I was going to say something mean about people that don't 4D. That's all.
Yeah. Well, RPG grammatic trust is important. I think that's
Yeah.
a big part. Yeah. And that's something I talked about that with Rick a bit at some point when we were doing the review on the Castle and Crusade game when I started playing with him, and I was taking turn that was way too long, right? And at some point I was telling him that and said like, well, I think for me that was a trust issue. It was my first time playing with you, new group and stuff like that. And I had a plan, I had stuff I wanted to do, and we hadn't built this trust. And it goes back to our topic of turn, right? That the turn would come back to me so I can do the next phase of my plan, right?
Right.
So I need to give you all right now because I don't know when it's gonna come back, right?
Well, did
And
you
this is
think
also
the other
something
players would play the same as you in that session?
Well, some did, some did very little too in that session.
Like,
as
did you
well,
just assume that everyone's going to be hogging their turn because they don't know if they're going to be alive at the next corner?
That's the thing as well. Like it's for me it's when you do like that's a problem also when you and that's why I went in the witch. I try to do like, okay, everybody like tell me when you want to do, and then we're gonna resolve it. Like so it gave an opportunity for everybody. Like so you don't need to snipe like because the action is not resolved yet, right? I say I'm putting my gun and I'm shooting at the witch, and then somebody else say I take my sword and swipe his gun away, right? Yeah. If I resolve the shooting at the witch before, that's not exactly what happened. I'm just like using an example there, but like if we resolve the shooting right away, then the other player doesn't have the option to swipe at the gun, right? If we go around the table and everybody can tell what they want to do, then everybody make their roll, and then like the gun goes off, but it's off of line because the captain's sword swipe it away, right? Stuff like that, right? We can.
Yeah, if characters
we can create those cool moment.
If characters are in personal range with each other, I just have everyone describe what they're doing at once, and then everyone does their rolls instead of you say you roll, you say you roll, you say you roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone says, and then everyone rolls.
But there is an order that has to happen because, like Max's example is a good one. Does the gun go off before the? So I guess the solution could be that everyone, let's say if our order is Max, Rick, me, and Sean, then we all describe what we're going to try to do, and then we resolve it in reverse order.
He doesn't say he shoots. He just says he points his gun.
But he says what his intention is. So I point my gun and press the trigger. Okay.
I aim my gun.
Okay, but if he didn't, if instead of saying that, if he had said, I put my gun up to the ready and pull the trigger, then Rick says, I knock the gun up. Then I say, I jump for the ground, or I try to tackle Rick. Yeah. And then you say whatever you say. Then how do you do the resolution?
It's too late at that point.
It can't be too late because you said that we're going to just say what our intention is and then we resolve.
Yeah.
If the guy says I point my gun and aim,
but he didn't say that. He said he pulled the trigger.
I am reacting to his action, so it's already happened as far as I'm concerned.
My gun and shoot. That's
when someone shoots, to me, that's the same thing as when someone says I kick down the door.
Yeah.
But okay, so you're kicking down the door, but then the next person in the initiative, because it hasn't resolved yet. You just said what you wanted to do. We haven't rolled any dice, so we're still back to the problem of how do we?
You do roll the dice. You do roll
right, but everyone rolls the dice at the same time, right?
I kick, you can say I kick on the door, but you don't say I kick the door open.
In a system like Pendragon,
right.
Yeah.
Sorry, in a system like Pendragon, the way I would resolve that is very simple. The one with the highest success has his action result first.
Yeah. But then you retcon stuff.
And it becomes slow. And we tried this.
Actually, you didn't shoot anyone.
Yeah.
No, you don't retcon shot. You say like, I pull off my gun and I shoot at the witch.
Actually,
and
the door didn't open.
Captain say, like I swipe the gun away with the like we understand it's like they're trying. I swipe the gun away with the with my sword. So now when you come back to resolve, you say like if the captain win, you can just say like the shot goes off but miss the witch because the captain like moved.
That could work. That could work, but it becomes complex if there's more than two players. Because there may be a third player and his action was contingent on someone else's action, but that action didn't go off, and so then you're left saying, well, who rolled highest, and how do we go? Okay, so then my action didn't happen because I wouldn't have done that if that didn't. That's why I understand the concept, because we tried this in Xenoplicity with Rick, and I was playing with Matt, and that's how his game is supposed to run. You're supposed to say what your intention is, then everyone rolls, then he or whoever will narrate how the whole thing went, because in his system, the round is a minute long. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that happens potentially in that minute.
Action and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around it. It didn't work that way.
You could do like, Star Trek fight scenes where Kirk's doing the karate chops on the back of the guys' heads and they're going knocked out and stuff, and then he's running up the ceiling and doing all this stuff. A minute long of just pure combat, just him karate chopping everyone. And at the end of that 1 minute, there's just one roll to see how well he did. If he gets subdued, if the Vulcan neck pinch thing knocks him out, or if he's running, if he's a crazy person running to the shuttle bay.
But that's like Crispy said, it becomes complex when you have a lot of player acting around. But
it's when they're close together.
It becomes complex when they're all like acting like in a big scrum, right? All it's rare. Like oftentimes you're gonna have like two characters acting together. It's rare that everybody's gonna fucking like, oh, there's this one guy and we're all piling up on him. Yeah, in that case, it becomes a bit more complex.
But I have players that say they get too much in a rush or too excited or something, and they overstate and they say, I shoot. They're like, just a few feet away from somebody, and they say, I pull the trigger and I shoot. Meanwhile, someone's saying, and they're thinking of they're going to block the shot or do something, but it's too late. The guy already fired.
Yeah.
You just have to go with it.
Yeah, I prefer that, actually. I just
prefer
that.
When the player says, I kicked down the door. The door's locked.
Like
it's hermetically sealed or something. The character's all in a rush. He's all excited. He's all amped up, and he's like, I kicked down the door.
For me as a game master, I feel like doing it agreeing with Crispy. Everybody gets their turn in a round, and what occurs, they resolve it at the time. Because I find myself always forgetting what exactly that last person was doing when like three people down the road. Exactly. You're like, okay, now what was it? What were you doing?
Well,
and you can't do that.
Is that also a problem because like people like put like too much description and try to do too much?
Yeah.
If everybody had like a simple like turn, simple action, like, and you know, maybe when an action scene, things gonna go fast, things gonna get chaotic. Cut the flavor a bit so we can like go around fast. Would that make it easier to remember? Oh, I shoot the witch. Oh, I stab the guy.
And then we're gonna have that complication. If the guy's pointing the gun, another guy's moving his weapon to move it away, and somebody else is doing something else that is related to what we're doing, and if that doesn't happen, then that sequence of events is who went first is the big question.
Yeah.
Well, okay, like let's say I'm pointing the gun, I'm gonna shoot. I'm pointing the gun, I'm aiming it. My next turn, I'm gonna shoot. Three guys gang up on me. Three guys gang up.
That's fine.
Being strangled. Someone's swinging a sword. They're gonna chop off my arm. And another person's got a gun pointed at me. They're gonna shoot me in the head. Now they all, for whatever reason, they fail their rolls, except for the guy who's strangling me or whatever. So I have a disadvantage while I shoot. I'm shooting while I'm still being strangled or something. And then the guy shoots me in the head. Something like that.
Fine, sure. Yeah.
We have way to see like the dice roll of people on the screen right now. Like we'll pretty much all play with Sophie's dice.
Yes.
What if we'd go like from highest dice roll to lowest when we resolve, right? And then we can let people like describe their resolve their action. And especially that would work well in the system with Pendragon, because if your dice roll is above your skill, you fail. So you can just like say
to me, Max, that takes twice as long for the same round.
You think so?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because you're doing the round twice every time.
Yeah.
But that's why I liked Rick's game, because And I actually really liked the Pendragon system too, because dice resolution was fast. It was quick. So it was no big deal. There you go.
Yeah.
Critical failure. but I
So what takes too long to do?
well
Going around twice for
go
like
around the round twice. You do the round
resolution.
twice.
Twice?
Yeah, because you
Yeah,
have to say
'cause
what
you
your
have to
intention
resolve
is.
it, yeah.
Then everyone rolls at the same time. Then you have to look and see highest to lowest and go in that order. That's playing the game each round twice. In my mind, potentially.
I
think
say
it'll be
keep,
so bad
keep
also,
the
yeah, like-
description quick and simple.
Yeah.
I think if you're keeping your description quick and simple, then
'Cause
there's
you're
no
in a
need to
hurry.
play the round again. Like I think I agree with you, Rick. I like the quick resolution right after you say what your action is. Roll, done.
Yeah. But
So,
how can we
I
allow
point-
people to react to stuff, right? Like, yeah, because like what you're trying to say, like, then your turn is going to be I point my gun,
Yes.
and shooting is going to be on the next turn.
It depends on how long it is. Like we're trying to shorten our turns, right? So if we agree to shorten our turns, then then it's still interruptions are still possible. But it's also
that fucking suck if somebody
Now-
like is
now,
5
if-
feet
if-
away, 10
yeah.
feet away, and say
Now-
like, oh, I'm rushing him, like you said, I like, because like what you want to do is like point your gun and shoot right away. You don't want to
Yeah.
wait. But now
Now,
you
if
say,
he-
okay, I'm gonna be a good player.
Oh.
I'm gonna have a good etiquette. I'm gonna keep my turn short. I pull out my gun and I point at the witch, and then like the guy say, oh, I run fucking 15 feet to body
No.
slam you.
Roll
And then he said,
initiative.
No.
yeah,
And
no,
then-
I think
then it
you
goes
have
in
to
the
stay
order.
in the
It's too
initiative
far.
order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's too far. He won't hit me until his next turn.
Yeah.
I've already shot the gun by the time they hit.
I think initiative
Yeah,
should
but
only
then,
be
like-
rolled when it's in those kind of situations. It's a showdown. It's a it's a whole bunch of people going out all at once, and they're like, oh, action's happening. They're all in the moment. You roll to see who goes first, and boom, then it's he gets a shot off. You get your grab onto his weapon or whatever it is that you're doing. That will resolve it when you want to have that initiative.
I point my gun. I'm aiming at her face. That's all I say.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
Rick,
then next turn.
Rick has a sword already in his hand, and he says, "I swing my sword at his hand."
Yep.
Now I don't have to roll because all I'm doing is aiming. All I'm doing is building up modifiers for my roll.
Yeah.
that I'm aiming. But Rick could actually roll for his arm cut, and if he succeeds, I'm missing an arm now.
Yeah.
I
And the
would
guy-
I would
and the
say
guy who-
initiative.
The guy who wanted to strangle me doesn't have to because he saw Rick cut my arm off, and then I can't shoot on my turn because I don't have the gun in my hand anymore.
Yeah. But what if you add your gun in your belt, and Rick has his sword in his scabbard, right? And then you do your turn. I pull out my gun and I point at the witch. You're like, and your intention is like not really to aim, but just like
Yeah.
pull the gun and shoot. But you say, you know what? I'm pull out my gun and point at the witch, and then you give a chance to Rick, and Rick say, oh, I draw my sword and swipe at his end.
No,
Now, like,
he
you kinda
draws
did,
his
like,
sword. He draws his sword, and he has to wait for his next turn to chop
Yeah.
me in half.
It has to be equivalent time.
But
So-
then somebody else, a third party, could say, "I reach around from behind and strangle Shauner."
Yeah, but that's something we have a problem with, right? Just like,
What
and
do
if
you
somebody
have a
like
problem
add some dialogue in that, right? And then you say like, no,
Stop.
don't shoot,
Don't shoot.
stop, like what you're doing. Like, that fucking took like way more longer than like pulling your gun and
with?
shooting
No, you don't.
or drawing
you
your
don't- I
sword
don't
and
know.
cutting.
Do you need dialogue for that?
If you're trying to
People like
stop them.
dialogue in combat. Yeah.
I think it depends on what was happening before that scene happens. If they were in a banter mood, then there's going to be banter during the fight.
It's a
I'll
funny
just-
example
I'll
because
just-
I had this
I'll
exact
just-
example come up in my
I mean,
in-person game.
You could say it with dialogue. You could say that all in dialogue. Like, well, how about if I just blow her freaking head off?
Yeah.
And I'm pointing a gun at her, and then Rick says, "Not on my watch." And then someone behind me says, "Please let me kill this guy. This guy with the gun. He's a pain in the ass. Just say win. Just say win. I'll twist his neck right off."
Mm-hmm.
Then that's as long as I want that scene to be before we do the die rolls.
That's the other tempo, like the Dragon Ball tempo.
Yeah. That's right.
You know,
I had this happen.
4 hours of
I
that.
had this happen in my game last week. It was the players were given a job by the commission to take out a Don that had gone AWOL. And so they infiltrate this big thing he was doing, this do he was doing. And one of the players, he didn't tell anybody he was going to do this, but they secure like serving staff. He secures a serving staff uniform, and he's got a tray of champagne. He walks up to the head table where the Don is. The Don, grabs the champagne, one for his date and one for himself. And then before the guy leaves, the player says, I pull the revolver from inside my jacket, let the champagne drop, and I pointed at the Don and fire, point blank range, right there. There's no time for anyone else to do anything, but that's okay, because the way that so if I certainly wanted to interrupt that action because I didn't want the Don to die in the first 10 minutes but the only thing I could do is in the system is I could roll to the Don gets a chance to soak damage or roll or what have you in the system. And so he actually rolled well enough that he didn't die.
The player could miss.
Or he could miss, right? He had to roll to hit, of course, but still it was this thing where there was no time to interrupt. He just did the thing. This was before any initiative was established or anything. He just went right. So this is why before we had talked about these different modes of time and how the control of what time you're in is very much in the player's domain as much as it is in the game master's domain. And he just switched the time. He went from interaction tempo to action tempo by that, just walking up, and he's like, well, the guy's right here and we're just supposed to take him out. So I'm just doing it right now. I don't care that he has all these men around him. Doesn't matter.
That would almost be like a surprise round if he does.
Yeah, essentially what it was. Yeah,
it's fair that nobody got a chance to reply to respond.
Yeah.
But if the tension is always being established and we're already in action, then that's a different thing.
We're on.
And a lot of what we talked about with this example of shooting and you want to swipe the end and stuff like that. You know what it made me think about is those attack of opportunity that you have in D&D now, right? Because that's what it would be. Like we say, if you attack somebody with a ranged weapon. When you're engaged in melee range with somebody, they get to do a shot on you, like an attack on you.
Yeah.
Before you get your and are those cool things that we should preserve in the game? Kind of those reactions there.
I don't do reaction stuff.
Savage World says two things. You have an edge called First Strike, which means that the first time someone comes within striking distance of you, even if it's not your turn, you get a free attack on them. They also have a rule that if you withdraw from being in combat with someone, so hand-to-hand combat or melee combat, then they also get a free attack as you withdraw.
Same as in D&D.
And that's the same as in D&D. You get that attack of opportunity. The first strike thing is different. That's an edge, but it's I don't know. Players used to get that all the time until I told them, okay, guys, I mean, it should make sense that you have this. It's not just winning the game. But
to me, the players are just saying what they're doing. So it's just a skill roll.
Yep.
Just because they're going to shoot someone or fix the motor in their car, it's no difference. It's just a skill roll.
Yeah, you just roll
there's a difference if you want. Yeah, I like when everything is the same mechanic, like all a skill roll. That's what I'm doing with Bastard Sword as well. But when we want to have this frenetic energy, right? We want to feel, in a sense, we want things to feel chaotic, but we don't want the game to be chaotic, right?
Well, shooting a gun takes a second. Fixing a car might take an hour or two.
Yeah.
So that's the pace. The pace is built into the skill check. If that makes sense.
When you're in those action scene, right? A lot of people do a lot of things. You do stuff as fast as you can, right? And there's always you're always trying to beat the other in speed. That's a big part of
you can, you tell your boss, I'll fix your car in about 3 hours, and the boss says, I need it fixed now. So there's a penalty, to your die roll when you're trying to be in a rush fixing a car.
Yeah,
you might be a genius mechanic and still manage it. The car works fine. You got it working in 3 minutes instead of 3 hours.
I wonder, Max, if we just kept our, when we're in those action tempo, it's really important there that we respect turn length. Like it has to be quick.
Yeah.
So otherwise it gets to me and then it slows way down and then it goes to Rick and it's fast and then it gets to me again and it slows down.
And you don't have this feel of you don't have this feel of combat of action, like frenetic action anymore.
No. It should feel tense.
And then you get back to the turnflation too. Like, just
yeah.
It's okay, Crispy.
Thank you,
okay.
thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Thank you.
like beat himself up.
Don't flog yourself too hard there.
Oh, it's bad though. Like everyone in chat should just go and watch one, and you'll see what I'm saying.
One day we need to do like a time of every like.
Tell me a scene, Crispy, that you're thinking of right now where that happened.
Oh, any of them. Like, what's one that?
You say time slowed down for you?
Yeah, well, it slowed down because my turn took too long. Like instead of respecting the understanding we had that your turn should be 2 sentences, it went way too long. Way too long.
Even when it was supposed to be snap in a jiffy.
Even when it's like quick. I'm like,
at some point I'm gonna go in through a session and time everybody's time, like tally everybody's time. And then I'm gonna put that in an Excel sheet, and then have the total time spoken.
That'll be
and
interesting.
The average time
that'll be
spoken.
humbling.
I know you guys are already doing the role play thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking
to me
go
it's apples and oranges at this point, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I mean,
but
but you guys want to
get
improve
better at it.
though.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys want to get better for some reason.
What for those
I know for some.
For those reaction thing or retaliation or like retaliation is the term I use in Bastard Sword. But reaction stuff, right? What if we have agreed upon and that the players know it's allowed to do it now? Like if somebody does that, you get to react. Like those specific trigger, like somebody shooting is using a range attack when it's right next to you. You get to react, or somebody tried to run away when he's is engaged with you. You get to react. Would that be like if it's kind of like understood, and those few but very specific trigger? Then could we get away with it?
It's a game master's prerogative for his game. I think he should state if he wants to have that initiative, so that he can sort out who goes first. That's totally fine. But it has to be in a specific instance in how I feel it should be, not in every case.
What's the tone of the game? What's the
can we do it like without
thing?
having the GM to call on people, like, and just like like everybody at the table know like this is legit, right? You did something that triggered that. Yeah,
practice for like
that's something we'd have to practice, because I do think that would be a key. Like I've done this in my. I lifted this from Brian Jameson's book, Game Mastering, where if a player is going to do something that's going to result in their death, like an obvious death, you don't stop them from doing that. Instead, you just slow the time down. So like for example, I saw this comment here. In 4D story, how would you handle this kind of comment without having physical positioning?
Yeah.
We have physical positioning.
We can talk about it. Finish your thought.
Yeah, but my thought is that,
and then there's this book,
and there's the hard way. Yeah, I don't have mine yet.
I'm still
my thought was, Max, we'd have to practice something along the lines of where it was like, okay, so you're sticking with the same example. The gun comes out of the holster, it points towards the whatever target, and then before the player can finish that, you go to the next person, and then the next person. But you just even quicker turns. Mm-hmm. But that's going to require some practice to see if we can get that feeling natural where, okay, I got interrupted by the game master, but it's just so that he could go to the next person. And so instead of having a flexible turn length, so instead of being 6 seconds, now it's 1 second, or you know what I mean? Like that kind of 15 seconds now is 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would help a lot.
I still use the it happens as soon as you say it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I'm just playing with the resolution. It's a bullet time thing, right?
Instead of it happens as soon as you say it, the amount of time is what you say.
The thing also with the resolution, like one thing I saw like a kind of an advantage when there's a dice roll. Like if it takes time for people to solve the dice roll, right? Then you can just like, okay, while you sort that out, we'll go to the next person. Like we tend to use mechanics that are fairly simple and fast to read, but still, if you take a second or 2 or 3 seconds just by rolling the dice and stuff like that, and then like reading it, right? And we try to keep the turn short. Is the turn going to be like shorter than the dice roll? Like, I don't know. Something to think
In
about.
the old days, I used to have the players just tell me the result of their die roll, like
Yeah.
failure, critical failure, success, marginal success.
Yeah.
And then I would describe what happens from their result.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it's way faster. I don't want to hear a result from somebody. I just want them to say what happens next.
Yeah.
So their description tells me that they rolled successfully, or their description tells me that they failed horribly with their roll. That saves time. So one person's just doing the description.
Well, that's why also like I often say, like I tell my player often time, like, just if you want to do something that you like, people like can kind of GM themselves. If like it's going to require a roll, you can just like make the roll, and then just like instead of like saying, oh, I tried to do that roll but I failed or whatever in the script, like just make the roll beforehand and then say like, oh, I went to go die but I fall, right? And just like, or whatever, right? Just go straight in the narration. So
we
don't
did
have to
some
write
of
down
that,
anything.
Max.
Yeah,
We did some of
and
that in your
I think
witch
that
game.
worked well. I think that worked pretty well. Like there was a lot of role going on in the witch game, but the role were transparent because like just people like, Sisben tried to sneak, he roll, and then like, oh, I'm slushing around, whatever, just like, and then I can react to that with an NPC that it's there, right?
Yeah, it's an NPC thing. You want to have that gauge so you can play your NPC proper to how he rolled.
Yeah.
Have you guys noticed that in most games where the GM does all the description for combat and the players just have to roll dice?
Yeah.
Those games take forever.
Their
combat is slow as hell.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
I think I'm a big fan of less description. I think in combat description, less is more. Yeah. I want to address this comment from SSC Van Zyl. So in 4D story, how would you handle this kind of combat without having physical positioning to work off of?
You need physical positioning.
Yeah.
And that's what we call anchoring, or it's just part of the social contract.
As Shauner say, tell me where your player is, what your player does, right?
Super
where
important.
your player is important. And I think this is something, and this is something I'm bad at, and this is something we're not great at, or sometimes like we miss stuff oftentimes. Yeah. The hard way.
If the players can mind read, then you don't have to describe anything.
And since we can't, we have to. You're right. If we could mind read, then I'd already know perfectly in my own imagination where Rick is, but I don't. And so Rick has a responsibility to me and to the guy, other players and the game master, to be very specific in his description of where he is. And it doesn't have to be long. It just has to be specific.
I'm standing next to the piano.
I get these questions all the time in the comments section. I have to know beforehand what's the scene, what's the current scene that's happening. That would explain where everyone is.
Yeah, and if you can repeat it, right? Sometimes like it doesn't hurt. Sometimes to I know I just said like keep your turn short, but it doesn't take that long to say like, oh, okay, I'm by this girl or I'm by the door and I say that, I'm leaning, and you can do it like you can like, oh, I'm leaning against the frame of the door, right? So now, okay, we know where you are. You kind of did something. You interacted with the world. So those. But
it's super important though. In order for that to work, every player has to be paying attention to everyone else's turn.
Yes.
And that's if you, for those of us that have been in the hobby for a long time, we often get into this bad habit of, especially if you're playing in a super large group, you check out in between rounds. Like, oh, well, I just...
you're doing this.
You're on your phone. You're alt-tabbed away, basically.
We don't do that.
Alt-tab away. No, you can't do that in our games because as soon as you stop paying attention, you lose track of where everyone is and where you are in relation to them. And then everything falls apart.
I think that's a necessary element to to elevate to a 3D player.
Yeah, if you want to be if you want to
Even
be
if
in
you-
character all the time, like 3D, you have to pay attention to everyone's turn.
Yeah, if you
I've
cannot
never
do
been-
that, I'm not even sure if you're 2D, right? You might just
Yeah,
be
I
1D.
don't even. You're not even a good player at any style. If
I've
you're,
never
yeah.
been in a game where someone was on their phone.
I've seen it
Yeah.
at my
I've seen
table.
it. I've seen it thousands
But-
of times though, but
Yeah, they don't stick around for long.
I refuse to be in those kinds of games.
Like most of the people I hang out with, and my that wasn't part of my regular game group, we're all like pretty like late adopter for phone, so that really wasn't an issue. They all like had phone like in the last like since COVID kind of thing, right?
They're tracking us. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're a bunch of Luddite.
Yeah, yeah. Gaming in your Faraday cage. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
living in the woods and just like, yeah. Oh yeah, Nicolas said like don't do weird dice at all. Don't do like the Star Wars. Like
We just saw Rick showed us this thing.
I have weird dice. See, weird
But
dice.
the ones that
right
are
now.
rubber. Yeah,
These are rubber weird dice.
that's cool.
Oh really?
Those don't count. Though.
We watched
They're
one of
called
these
weird
Star
dice.
Wars. It was a what is it? Final
Those are strange. Dice.
Fantasy Flight.
A
Fantasy
Flight.
It was
Fantasy
Fantasy
Flight,
Flight
yeah.
Star Wars, and
I
they have
hate
all
that
these
system.
symbols on these weird dice. Well, the dice themselves aren't weird, but the symbols are all these unique symbols.
Yeah.
And you have to roll a whole pile of these dice, so that you have a choice. You already, like for a dice mechanic, you have to figure out how many dice you want to spend in the roll, so it's a dice pool. But then on top of that, you can't just. You have to count up the symbols, and then the symbols all mean something. That's not a fast mechanic. That's
and then you have,
slow.
For one dice roll, you have like kind of like 2 or 3 or 4 sometime thing like that compose your result. Like I
Yeah.
got a triumph and then 2 advantage, but also got like this 1 drawback, and I generate like 2 force point, and then you have to like put all that together and like what's actually fucking happening.
Crazy.
It's
It's
nuts.
fucking nightmare. Like I like. This is really like a system for midwit, right? It's just like seems sound cool and clever and stuff like that. Like, but it's so fucking retarded, so fucking slow.
Yeah, it's to sell
hate
dice, just like Nick says there.
I think Nick is
that-
right. It's to sell the dice. I feel that little bit,
that's-
a little
that's
bit
what
about
most of this
DCC
is all
now
about.
too. Like,
Yeah.
I played a
Fantasy
lot of
Flight is
DCC,
a-
but
all of these games, fifth edition, all that, they're there to sell you the minis, or to sell you dice, or to sell you the maps. Virtual tabletop, all that stuff. It's meant to sell you all that.
Well, yeah. D&D 5e is just war game with Magic Gathering characters.
and soon chopsticks. Just kidding. That was a red herring thing. Anyway.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
At some point, I want to do like a stream about like thing that I used to love that I don't anymore.
Oh,
right?
the list is too long. It's so
Yeah.
long.
But I think that could be like a good, like, an interesting topic. Like for me, like
What is-
and especially like the Black Lodge game was like talking about how they love exploding dice and stuff like that. And I say, I used to love it anymore. I don't anymore. No, I think it just like I want like you roll the dice, you resolve the thing. If I have to roll the dice and then I get to roll again, now you just fucking like double the time it takes to resolve your thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Those are for
I get,
people
like-
that are trying to quit smoking. They have to have something in their hand.
It's my Nicorette patch. Yeah.
Yes, they have
I
to
like
have something in their
quick-
hand.
Quick. Yeah. I do want those rubber dice though. I have to say, when you're like, it feels like a Stetler eraser, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of want that.
Damn, I should have gotten you a pair. Because
Man.
sorry, man.
Oh, it's all right. I don't need any more dice.
It was a Kickstarter thing.
It's only 4-sided die you can step on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
They're
I
for
guess.
the eraser.
safety for the D4.
Yeah, the safety D4.
But they bounce though.
Yep. Yeah. They're pretty bouncy.
They bounce right off the
D20.
table. Actually,
Oh
that'll
yeah,
probably be
yeah.
annoying.
It bounced out of control the first time I dropped it. It was like
Try to roll it into a dice tray, and it just bounces right out of the dice tray every time.
I have a dice tray here that's got the felt bottom on them,
Yeah, and they stay
so
in there.
that helps a lot.
Oh, okay.
And they're pretty grippy on the all the rest of my
Those
dice
are nice too, Sean.
would slide
Those
around
traveler
and stuff,
dice.
right?
Those are
I
nice.
just use
These-
my mouse pad.
Yeah. But it has a 1 to 10 D10, not a 0 to 9.
1 to 10 for the win.
Which
Yeah,
is cool.
man.
I don't have one of those. Mine is always
I
0
hate
to
the 0 to 9.
Same here.
The 0 to 9
10,
is the
10
standard.
on the 10-sided die.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I wish
That-
that,
that's
I
the
don't have any
default.
like that. And I have
You know,
lots of
like-
them.
What I want for dice, what I would like for dice to be the default is like 1 to 10 on the unit dice, and for the person that dies, then you do 0 to 90,
Oh, okay.
because then just fucking add the two dice together.
Yeah.
Like when you do any other fucking roll, just add like, you roll like 80 and 10, well then you get like 90, right? You get 90 and 10, then you get 100. You get like 0 and 1, you get 1, right?
Yeah,
No
that's a
fucking
better.
gimmick of like, oh yeah, it's 000, that's 100. Like when you try to fucking explain
Yeah.
that, then it's, oh like,
I-
wait, I rolled,
That's always
oh.
fun to explain to new people in the hobby. They're like,
And I don't
huh?
know why they
What?
went with that fucking scheme. It's fucking retarded.
Oh, there's YouTube videos on how to roll. a
There
D100,
are, and you've
and they
talked
go
about
on
them.
for half an hour.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah,
It's not
if I
that
could just
hard.
say like, you roll those two dice. Yeah, one is with it goes by a step of 10. Just add the two together. Don't fucking worry about any fucking
Yeah.
thing fancy, right?
That's a really good point, Max. That's a really good point. Just add them
They're-
together. Come on.
These these new kids on the block should do videos on how to do a D100 roll using 20-sided dice numbered 0 through 9.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
That's
the
how
first
I
time I
had to
saw
do
one of those. I had an old, player that'd been in since the inception of the hobby, and he had one of those dice. I'm like, what are you using? I don't, oh, it's 0 to 9 twice. And I'm like, why are you doing that?
There was no 10-sided dice yet back then.
Yeah. That was his D20. It was 0 to 9 twice. Like, why?
And use crayons to color in the numbers so you know
Yeah.
which ones were the 10s and which ones were the 1s.
So, Max, are you satisfied that we've got a better handle on how we're going to do this tomorrow? Like we're
Yeah, let's wrap that up. What we're gonna try? We're gonna try to shorten our turn.
absolutely. That's my thing. I'm shortening my turn. Absolutely.
1 to 2 senses.
Yeah. Try to, or just one short
One
sentence.
sentence should be enough.
turn.
The
Like,
trick
just like-
is, how do you let them know
5
you're done
words.
talking? How do you let everyone know you're done saying?
I just stop.
You do your
I'll just
your
stop.
2 sentences. That's all, everybody's listening.
Or you
No, but
see
you
me
should
roll
be able
dice, then I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to take your turn like in 5 or 6 words, right? Just
That's right.
Easily.
Yeah.
Okay, so see if you can practice right now, Crispy. Say something your character does in 2 sentences. Can you do it?
I turn the doorknob, open door.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I use doorknob because I know you hate seeing doorknobs. And
Yeah, Sean, I got a phobia of
so here
doorknobs.
we go. Here we go. Just for you.
Yeah,
Here
I
we
suffer
go.
from nyctophobia.
Oh, you're like, oh no.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
Yes,
We're
that's
gotta
it.
have it.
Did you ever see that joke from Johnny Carson when he
I
was
did
talking?
not. No. My favorite Johnny Carson bits were the ones where he had the envelope and he'd like put it on his head. He had a big turban on.
Yeah,
And
it was.
Those are my
kind of-
favorite jokes.
It was sort of like that. He says, I don't know why I remember this stupid thing, but he says, I have a fear. It's called nyctophobia. And then his sidekick says, what's that? And he says, that's the fear of being in a room in the dark, totally naked, and having the fear of running full speed backwards into a doorknob.
All of that from like super specific. Boy, those Latin words.
I looked up nyctophobia. Nyctophobia, I don't think is a word. I don't think it even means that.
No, it's not like
it's-
no, it'd be like no, it'd say like fear of night, but that'd be like not
Yeah.
Yeah.
nuts. Yeah.
But he was just ad-libbing before they had some time to kill before a commercial started. So he just started ranting about something.
Back when
Yeah.
I thought
comedy
that-
was good.
I thought it was like back
Yeah.
in 74, 73, something like that. When you could
Yeah.
say stuff like that on TV still.
So I've told everyone, because I'm a big offender here, so I understand that I've got a lot of improvement to do. But what about you, Rick? What are you going to do?
Let's see. Well,
Because it's the three of us that are playing this, right?
Yeah, I think I'm usually the guy that states what he says, and just says the one sentence.
You're usually
anyways,
you're pretty quick usually.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm you know, I'll just sit back and be patient, you know? That's all I can do.
like I think you are good at that, Rick. But at some point, like when if like that's not something that have to change because you were being patient.
No, yeah.
The fact is like that other people weren't being like sometimes like you're kind of like being skipped.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say like you don't have to change the thing on that, but
That you know, that would be Phil's you know, inclination to go ahead and, you know, do the turns however he's going to do that. So
yeah. But I think
we'll
if we can try to learn to listen to one another and build that trust, I think there's gonna be like this you know, if it's stick, we can try that. I think it's worth a shot. Like if we all make this agreement, that's kind of like doing our like it's a shame Phil is not there now. Like he could like can kind of make our social contract now. We try to stick to this like, very short turn when you went.
I think so. Yeah.
Just
Like
bring
I think dialogue thing. If we do like we allow a few back and forth, if we split the scene and stuff like that, so we don't have to switch all the time, I think that's fine. But we have to have this consciousness that okay, now that's an action scene. Let's shrink the dialogue down. Let's shrink our turn down, right? Let's cut the fat as much as we can.
Wouldn't that happen normally?
It should.
If the characters are in a hurry to do things, they'll take less time doing it.
Yeah, and then we just added the discipline to go back into turn order, like go back into that. So our dialogue happens organically. That's not really turn based. That's just talking. But as soon as we go from that into short turns, then we're right back into the turn order, and no one's getting missed.
And maybe also sometimes we have to accept that we took our turn and wait until everybody else has a turn so we can go again, right?
Well, that's
and
hard.
Sometimes you say like,
it's not like there's 10 players in your game.
No, there's 3 of us. So I mean, it's just me. But
you know, like,
the space of 6 players.
I understand like sometimes like people
I
want
count as
to.
3 people.
I don't want to make it all about you, Crispy. We all have our fault on that, right? Just like become kind of meme, I guess. But like,
yeah.
Because sometimes we want to react to something happening, right? But we just did something. Our character just did something. Somebody else do something. We want to react to that thing. Well, your character is still busy doing this thing, right? You're still like, he's still like. So
you're on the edge of your seat. You just have to be on the edge of your seat, is all.
The problem is, I'm just so excited, and I am paying attention. I pay close attention to everyone's turn, and then I want to be in right after. So I'm like, that's awesome. I want to be there. So
but it's like remembering that, like,
so lucky.
Yes, there's a new thing happening, but your character is still like engaged with the thing that you just described.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thinking about that.
Still fiddling. You're still fiddling with the crucifix. You're doing the rosary
thing.
Yeah, that you're doing that. You're doing the prayer thing. You're trying to race through all of them.
I'm fast.
The demon seed.
Is that how it works?
The demon seed is coming down the corridor.
I think it's purposely to slow you down, not speed you up.
Your sanity levels already.
Machine gun rosary.
Yeah, that's right. I think that defeats the purpose of it.
But you're at 1 point from sanity loss.
Yeah.
So to you, it's like normal doing that.
Well, and it's. Work. I mean, you have extremes, right? On the one hand, you have players that. It's like trying to squeeze water out of stone. Like they just are so passive. They're never going to say anything. They just don't want to have anything. And your game masters spend all their time asking, what do you do to try to get them to get up and do something, right? And then on the other extreme, you have me, right?
For Van Ziel there, it depends on my character. If I'm like my character as the captain, he was very patient. He is trying to suss out what exactly is happening. He's the cruise. He's like the cross between faith and what would what would be the opposite of faith? Like being practical or like more
pragmatic.
Headstrong.
Yeah.
That was his character. He didn't say much, but when he did say something, it was something important that he wanted to get across. My character as Bruno was a little bit more forceful, and he wanted to when he wanted to be in there, he'd be like, he'd be saying what he had to say, and or he would, bustle up when he see he needed to go ahead and take charge of something and say, "Yo, you're not gonna, bust my friend's balls. You're gonna do what we're saying right now, or you're gonna see a 5-finger death, a punch of doom, or whatever he's gonna say." But it depends on the character, if I'm playing somebody a little bit more standoffish, I'll play him standoffish.
Also, you guys might be assuming that everyone's in perfect health and not dead yet.
True.
Because usually, if you're injured, you sit it out. You sit out your turn sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you're still vomiting in your own blood, kind of a thing, in your 0G environment. The computer's not letting you back into the ship, that sort of thing.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. We're gonna give it another try and keep practicing until we get it.
Yeah.
We got room for improvement. Hopefully, we can nail that.
I like how you guys try to be perfect on the first try.
Yeah.
Why not?
You're already role playing. It's like, oh, but we're not good role players though. I mean, we're not good 4D players.
Not yet.
We'll
get there.
It's like, how many of you are there? Who else is doing this? Who are you
Not
competing
enough.
with?
Not enough, we say.
We're trying to be an example.
Yeah, we try to refine.
Get it
our-
started.
Once
Reminds
we
me-
get better at it,
reminds me
then
of the-
hopefully we'll have more people interested in giving it a
Reminds me of
try.
the old days.
Yeah, and it was all the whole point. Also, was doing it live and doing like exactly just like so we can show and say, you know what, and we can have
go
a
and
talk
look at
afterward
it.
and say,
Yeah,
Look
I wish
at
I
it,
still
learn
had
from our
my old
mistakes.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My old
People are
videos
interested
were
in
all
trying.
my old videos were all done with dial-up, webcam, 4x3, 640 by 480 pictures, and I had no patience keeping those on my channel anymore.
Where
You
else?
can do now.
Yeah, where else would you see channels where everybody does their game, comes back to it and says, "Yeah, we can do this a little better," and you'll do a diagnosis on it. You don't see that, so it's something that we do, and we're just not. I mean, we're not perfect, but we're showing. We're trying to get ourselves better and better each time. So. Yeah, it's we hope we rub off on other people. So.
Yeah. Love to see more people
Yeah.
trying it.
Well, on Google Hangouts, you had the video response that you could do to everything. So everyone was doing video responses to people's live streams and giving their 2 cents worth. But now StreamYard is far superior than what Google Hangouts was doing.
Yeah, it's easy to do. And we've had great feedback from people watching ourselves kind of tear apart sessions and
people are
why
making
did I do
videos
this
now.
here? And
yeah,
Nicholas is making videos.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, subscribe
that's
today.
great. Love to see more people trying it.
Yeah,
Tell
this
us how
year
it's
we're going to
going.
get a whole lot of new people, I bet.
We hope so. It'd be good. To us,
Well,
and
that's what
much
we're
like
trying to
Dice
do.
Tales was saying, it's a hopefully a bit of a, I don't know, a renaissance sounds too pretentious, but it's
Well, we're-
hopefully
we're
just
past
getting more
that.
people interested, right?
It's just role plays.
It's just role play, but we're trying to get more people interested in coming in the hobby and say, hey, you know what, this is a good way to get people interested. Hopefully,
And showcasing what the hobby has to offer. That board game, war game, video game.
it's different. We want it to be different.
Exactly, we like play to the strength of this hobby, which making stuff as you go, and
There's going to be a Brazilian branch of the Crusade.
Oh, we sure hope.
Oh,
we sure
nice.
hope. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know much Portuguese. I can say what pupsic. That means bun. That's all. What other? I
What?
just need to ask for the baking. Can you please pass me the pupsic? I want
Bossa
that.
Nova is my favorite music.
Pow.
My mother-in-law is Portuguese.
Padaria is the bakery.
speaks- yeah. The
Onde está a
pupsic.
padaria?
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Yeah.
If you're a man. Yeah.
And then what was? Yeah.
You guys are all
What do you call her?
Canadian?
I know, but my
You're all,
in-laws.
yeah, you're all, yeah.
Yeah,
we're all
you
Canadian.
gotta know
We're
at
all
least
Canadian.
a couple
Sorry
of
about that.
languages when you're up in Canada.
There's almost zero role players in California.
Yeah, Nicola, I spent some time in Brazil. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Never been.
Yeah, so I'm rusty now, but I was pretty fluent in
South
Brazil,
Africa,
in
get
Portuguese.
I designed a monorail for Brazil.
He's from South
really?
Africa.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
What?
I guess they're
Oh,
building
wow.
the thing
The
now.
South Africa branch
That's
of it.
awesome.
Look at
man.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks for joining us.
International chat. Yeah.
Fantastic.
yeah. It's like Viceroy.
Oh, Nicolas, Rio. I spent most of my time in Rio. I went a bit in Sao Paulo and stuff like that, but Rio de Janeiro, in the state. Yeah, I had a relative there. But anyway,
Nice.
So Max, how are you doing your lights? Did you go to like Walmart and buy some
I
LED
bought some
strips or
Amazon,
something?
like yeah, some Amazon, some LED curtain.
Can you use your phone to change the colors and stuff?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I can, and most of
You
them are
need to
fucking
do the-
awful.
You need to do the you need to do the 2001 Stargate thing.
Yeah, but I wanted to have something that wouldn't blind people too much, and also like I was a bit in a rush, so I didn't like place the strand. Like there's a gap there. Fucking it drove me nuts like the whole fucking stream.
Oh.
I should have like
that
kind
gap.
of
Yeah, I see it now.
You're
Yeah,
just
should have
low
fucking
budget
comped,
Doctor Who. It's low budget Doctor Who's.
Yeah, Walmart Boxing Day sale. That's what it was.
As I was saying the other day, like if I do it was the Boxing Day sale actually. If I do like the blur thing, kind of look
Ooh.
kinda
Wow,
look funky there.
wow.
But the
from
reason
the culture.
I don't like it because I speak a lot with my hand.
Oh
and
yeah, then
my
that
hands get
doesn't
blurred
work
as
with
well. Yeah, I need my hands suck.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Can shut up
So-
Max by
it's
saying,
so-
"Sit on your hands."
So
exactly. Yeah, I just have the StreamYard. I need to look at investigate the OBS option a bit more. But, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight. I think I'm gonna wrap it up now. Like it's 2.5 an hour, and I think it was a productive conversation.
oh, for sure.
I found it productive.
I
yeah.
can talk about this stuff.
I made a bunch of
forever.
notes. I'm
Yeah.
such a nerd.
Oh, what did we say we talk about next week? We mentioned that I should have took a note as well on that.
I'd really like to
We-
hear what you guys think we can do with insanity and hallucinations, magical
that was
effects,
the
magical
topic.
mental effects. Like, how do you do that without
Perception-
just going second person the whole
Charm.
time?
Yeah.
How about
Perception for
variations?
one player.
Variations of
Perception,
hit points. Hit points. How to resolve hit points a little bit more
Yeah.
on a,
Yeah,
movie
but
scale.
like the I think the hit point awareness stuff like that, like
Perception
one
rolls.
like perception roll stuff like that, and
there's lots of
the
stuff.
mental effect.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good topic. Well, we can I got a show like it's my weekly show on Sunday.
Weekly
so
show. Tear your skin off or something. Very family
Yeah.
family friendly. Join us for our friendly
we're going
conversation.
deep. That's
Rip
that's
your
the
skin
concept.
off.
What does tear your skin off mean anyway? What does that mean?
I don't know.
Am I-
It means I'm
am
going
I-
insane.
How do you say it in French? You know.
We have we would have like being flayed, like
Yeah.
it's like
Déchirer la peau. I don't know.
yeah, déchirer la peau, yeah, or délapider.
Délapider. There's an actual verb
No,
for it.
délapider would be like throwing stone.
There's another
there's a
word.
I forget-
There's an
yeah,
actual
there's
word
a
for it,
specific
but it's
word for it,
flaying,
but I forget
essentially.
right now. It's flaying essentially. Écorché.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Écorché.
I don't know that one. I also, you could just make up anything, and I'll say, yeah, that's the one. I don't know that. That's not in my vocabulary. I've never had to say that to someone. Yeah, make sure you
Yeah,
go flail
écorché is
yourself.
ripping your skin off. It's something we do a lot, so we have it's like defenestration,
Yeah.
right?
How-
There
how-
you
how
go.
do you-
Yeah.
How do you say hole punch your eyelid in French?
Oh man, I have no idea.
We actually don't have a word for punch. So we need to say like something like I
Coup.
would hit your
It's
eyelid.
coup,
Yeah,
right?
un coup de poing. So
Coup de poing
know,
is
yeah,
How
I would
do you-
hit with
how
my
do you-
fist
how do
your
you-
eyelid.
How do you say make a hole in the paper for a 3-ring binder?
Percer.
Man. Yeah.
Pierce?
Percer.
Punching a hole
Percer.
with punching like punching a hole with percer.
Yeah.
But that
To
doesn't
pierce.
work for punching somebody. They're
No.
different thing.
Well, you
Punching
could say
somebody
that,
would
but it would be
frappé.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
how do you
frapper
say
style.
how do you say sleep while looking through your eyelid because you have a hole in your eyelid? How do you say that? How do you say that in French?
I've never learned. That's outside my
Charter.
vocabulary.
Charter, come on.
I can
I
say
hear
it in
you,
English. I say it perfectly in English. You guys are French, right?
Does it translate? I'm not French.
Half,
No.
half French. You're half French.
Just me.
I'm not French. No.
I'm full French.
He's
yeah.
French.
yeah.
You know how Max resolves all those, crazy questions? He just says it in a French accent,
Accents,
but
yeah,
in
that's right.
English.
Yeah.
My
Franglish.
daughter learning French, that's what she'd do. She'd say it all in English with a really bad French accent.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking French now. Like, no.
Parlez-vous français or
See,
something?
this French is easy. I just say an English word with a real bad accent. No.
Sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works. It's true. That's why. The problem is that it works just enough that she got away with it.
Well, when I with Portuguese, sometimes that works as well. Like but also like I learned Latin in school because I went to Catholic school and stuff like that, and because also like I know like if I look at the French word that comes from the Latin root,
Yeah.
and I kind of use that for Portuguese with like the rules that they do
Yeah,
for Portuguese.
Italian, Portuguese, Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like what? Well, if the French word is that, I can probably replace this letter and this letter, and you can
Yeah.
do the same in from English to French as well. Like
Yeah, you can.
if you have like a if you see a word in French that start with a e with an accent,
Yeah,
you can probably replace it with an s,
Yeah, it's usually yes.
and that's gonna give like espace
Like-
can become space and stuff like that, right? Just like
Or école is school.
école, school, exactly. You replace the a with the if you replace the a with the s, école becomes skull. It's school, right?
School.
Étudiant
Well,
becomes student.
In French, do they say forte or fort?
Depends.
Yeah, if you talk about somebody being strong, it'd be fort. Unless it's a female or a woman,
It's
then it'd
fort.
be fort.
Yeah.
But if you say like something is your strength, then we say it's your forte.
Yeah.
Means something else. Different
But
word.
that's kind of like a
Your specialty.
borrowing from Italian too. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
but
Hard
yeah,
to
so
pronounce.
burning wheel like they did it wrong in all kind of sort, all kind of way, and fucking always drove me crazy.
Yeah. So everyone's homework for next week is to figure out how to describe or say how someone detected magic, but only they do in the group.
Or
Without saying
or had a hallucination or whatever.
Yeah, insanity and stuff like that. We'll talk about that. I'll need to make a note and make a card for that thumbnail.
like who rolled a natural 2? Oh, Rick, your character's now insane. This is how you see things now.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrible.
4Ding
Post
insanity.
post those weekly things in the in our RPG Crusade Discord.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's a
just
good place
post
to
it in there and
Bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. I'll wrap the stream
Thank you, sir.
now.
Yep.
And thank you for people that watch live, and thank you for people that are gonna watch on the replay. Also, people that watch, if you have questions you'd like us to address, you can leave them in the comments. If it's a bigger topic, we might do a full episode on that. And if it's a small question, you can just like throw it. Maybe we're gonna a point at some point, go in the comment from last week, and just like, you know what, let's address some comment there. Maybe that can be something we can do. If you have question about like you're working on games, stuff like that, you want to have advice, feel free also to leave them there. At some point, I might do like a stream just about that, right? Wrap them, compile them in one thing.
Cool.
So have a good night, all, and Rick and Crispy and Phil, I'll see you tomorrow for this game of Feast of Legend, which is going to be we're going to stream on all our channels, so you can watch it everywhere. The Wendy's game, exactly, Feast of Legend, that we're going to try to 40 the shit out of it.
Yeah, we are. We're going to push
And
it to
take
the
it very
max.
seriously.
Seriously, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's deadly
So I
serious.
think that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see how that goes, right? If we can keep a straight face.
Oh yeah, that's the whole point. You got to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
time.
it's not going to be a game to watch with an empty stomach.
No. Grab yourself a
Get
baconator
comfort.
and a frosty. Join us.
Try to play it on site at a Wendy's diner.
Yeah, I wish. There's no Wendy's around here.
I'm gonna be bringing some Wendy's.
You can bring some Wendy's. Oh,
Yep, I'm gonna bring
You
some.
get XP. You get
Oh,
XP
yeah,
if you eat French fries or something like that. If your
You
character's
get
a
bonus
French
to
fry.
your French fries is bonus to your intelligence.
You know, I know the manager of our Wendy's. I wonder if I can get him if he could give me a uniform.
What do they
Oh.
what do they call French fries in Canada?
French fries.
French fries.
Yeah.
Really?
But in French, we call them frites,
Yeah.
which is just fry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The I wish like the closest Wendy's is probably like fucking 9-hour drive from me.
Oh, yeah,
So
forget
it's
that.
not gonna happen.
Be at mine in 5 minutes. I have
What do you
time.
guys call Canadian bacon?
Bacon.
Bacon. No, that's not true. Actually, we call it ham.
I know, it's just a
We call-
joke. It's like
we
asking
call
Nicholas.
bacon.
Ask Nicholas, in Brazil, what do they call Brazilian, like Brazil nuts in Brazil?
Nuts.
Nuts. No, I know that it's just a joke. It's a ham, yeah.
I mean, do you guys have like American stuff that you guys eat that we would just call stuff?
I don't think we call anything American.
Do you have, like,
American
No,
American pies?
like we don't
Yeah.
like we call it craft singles. We don't call it American cheese.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Just
okay.
craft
that's-
singles. We just call them singles.
I hate American cheese.
Yeah, well, we don't really like it either, but we don't call it
I like-
American cheese.
I like provolone. That's
Provolone.
my go-to.
Yeah. What people like what the French call cheese, yeah, call it fromage.
And mozzarella. That's
Yeah,
what I do.
they call it cheese in French. That's what
What?
they call
Call it cheese? No, they call it fromage.
it. Just
What cheese is
Do
that?
you guys have string cheese up there?
yeah,
Okay. I think that's American.
yeah, I think so. There's some funny differences, but Max is trying to go to bed, and yeah, that's a topic for another.
I still need
those
to walk
lights
the
on.
dog, you know. Just like, yeah, I'm gonna turn the light off. That's gonna be
Yeah,
the
that's right.
signal.
You just turn off the lights.
All right, I'm ending the stream now. Thank you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah.
See you later.